She ran from her wedding and accidentally married a mafia boss at a funeral. Audrey Palmer burst into the wrong church barefoot, soaked in rain, her wedding dress torn, and covered in mud. She thought she had found a hiding place from the cheating fiancé, chasing her down the street. Instead, she walked into Silvio Gallo's father's funeral, surrounded by armed men, a coffin, and the most dangerous family in Providence. 5 minutes later, the runaway bride had a new husband, a new name, and no way back.
Picture this, guys. 25-year-old Audrey is sprinting down the street in a full-blown wedding dress, dodging freezing rain. She ditches her heels and runs from her toxic fiancé, Max, who is literally screaming his head off behind her. She tears off her veil like it is a cage. And honestly, sometimes the bravest thing you can ever do is just sprint away from a bad situation before it ruins your life. Running purely on adrenaline, she spots an old stone church with open doors and bolts right in. She thinks she is just dodging a nightmare marriage, right? Absolutely wrong. She is about to crash headfirst into the most dangerous mafia family in Providence. Stick with me, because this runaway bride is about to turn into the ultimate boss. Audrey stumbles inside, dripping mud, and completely freezes. She just crashed a literal mob funeral. Rows of scary dudes in dark suits snap their heads toward the muddy bride. 2 massive guys slam the doors shut behind her. The lock clicks. She stammers an apology, but then Max starts banging on the doors from the outside. Just an hour ago, she caught this clown kissing another woman, calling Audrey boring and manageable. It really proves that you should never let someone else define your worth, especially someone who treats you like a backup plan. Max is outside screaming about his ruined image, while Audrey is trapped inside with a room full of gangsters. Out of the frying pan and into the fire, she turns back to the altar, and bam, there he is. Silvio Gallo's is strolling down the aisle like he owns the world. This guy has cheekbones that could slice glass and pale blue eyes that pierce right through you. He walks right up, stopping so close she has to crane her neck. He scans her ruined dress and bare feet, then hits her with a dangerously arrogant smirk. He calls her a runaway bride in a super confident voice, studying her like a puzzle he already solved. Sometimes the universe throws a scary roadblock in your path just to force you toward your actual destiny. Audrey can barely catch her breath under his intense stare, but she completely refuses to back down and forces herself to speak. She looks the mob boss dead in the eyes, begging for a back door, but Silvio just stares her down. He says he needed a solution, and she just walked in dressed exactly like the answer. Huge plot twist. She is confused, but he ignores her panic, nodding toward the banging door to ask who is out there. The second she says, "Max Gordon," the temperature in the room drops to 0. Silvio's jaw clenches. He repeats the name with pure, icy venom. Turns out, the Don already knows her dirtbag fiancé. It is a brutal reminder that the people you think you know often hide the darkest secrets. Silvio holds out his hand, telling her to step outside with him, just as Max screams a final threat through the wood. Things are about to get absolutely crazy. Picture this chaos, guys. Our desperate bride realizes this absolute mob boss is her only way out. She looks at his offered hand, thinking he is just moving her to avoid a wedding scandal. Suddenly, the door handle rattles. It is that aggressive sound of a toxic ex about to ruin everything. You and I have probably both stayed in bad situations too long. But here is a simple truth. Sometimes leaping into the unknown is much safer than staying with the devil you know. With no phone and zero plan, she takes his hand. They walk right down the center aisle, passing armed guards and a coffins smelling of heavy funeral flowers. Then, a guy with the exact same jawline stands up. Aldo. He glares, demanding to know what Silvio is doing. Silvio turns to Aldo with this insane, unhurried patience, like the guy just asked the dumbest question on earth. He just drops the bomb, saying he is getting married. Cool as a weather forecast. The audacity is off the charts. Audrey totally freezes. That she feels the warmth of his palm and realizes this absolute menace just decided her whole future without asking. Listen, in life, you can never let someone else hold the pen to your story, no matter how powerful they seem. She yanks her hand back hard. She looks him dead in the eye and reminds him he promised to get her out. Silvio stares back with those pale blue eyes and says he is, just not the way she expected. The door handle violently rattles again. Audrey stares at him like he is crazy and just whispers, "Excuse me." Audrey is totally losing it. She snaps that he just claimed they are getting married and does not even know her name. Silvio tilts his head with this arrogant smirk and goes, "Audrey, I guess." She immediately fires back that she is not marrying another guy just to escape the first one. It is a truth we all need to learn. Trading one cage for another never actually makes you free. Silvio leans in, telling her to either run back to her toxic ex, Max, or leave the church under his protection. Suddenly, fists pound on the door. Max is out there screaming, dropping his polished rich boy act. He is whining about his investors and a single kiss, proving he only cares about his massive ego. Silvio just smirks, looking completely entertained by the absolute meltdown happening outside. Audrey desperately begs him to just let her leave. She warns him that if he knows Max Gordon, he knows Max will absolutely not let this slide. Whatever scheme he is cooking up, it is going to get messy. Silvio looks right through her, calmly agreeing that Max will not let it go. Realizing she is trapped, she demands he let her handle it. He just holds out his hand again. Listen, true courage is not about being fearless. It is about making a terrifying choice when all safe options are gone. Her pulse is screaming as she shakes his hand. Then the massive plot twist drops. His name is Silvio Gallo. The Gallo name is pure poison in Providence. People only whisper it because it belongs to mafia royalty you never want to wake up. Max just picked a fight with a literal monster. Look at this situation, guys. Audrey feels her stomach absolutely drop to the floor as the cold stone freezes her bare feet. She realizes with horror she just barged into the funeral of the biggest mob boss in town. His son, Silvio, the new Don, looks at her with zero panic. He tells her he needs a wife, and her toxic ex-Max needs a reality check. 2 birds, 1 stone. Suddenly, Max's entitled voice echoes from the hallway. Audrey yanks her hand back, realizing she is dealing with the notorious Gallo family. Silvio gives her a wild, sideways smile, grabbing her wrist with absolute certainty. Then the doors slam open. It is Max, yelling for his bride. But Silvio does not flinch. Life lesson right here. Sometimes the craziest risks are the exact escape hatch you need. You and I are going to unpack this crazy scene together. The room smells of candle wax. Audrey stands barefoot with a muddy wedding gown pooling around her ankles. She watches 2 intimidating men step up as witnesses while a priest opens a book like he knows better than to ask questions. Silvio steps way too close, leaning down to whisper for her to just say yes. Audrey stares straight ahead, realizing she ran from a rainstorm directly into a hurricane. She whispers back, locking in the deal. She promises to be useful to him if he protects her from Max, but sets a hard boundary that he cannot touch her. Silvio stares at her, respecting the hustle, and calmly agrees. The priest starts talking, but her mind is completely spinning elsewhere. Instead of the priest, she focuses on Max yelling through the wall. After 2 years of shrinking herself to keep that toxic guy happy, She is absolutely done. The priest looks at her, and she lifts her chin, saying yes with a determined voice. Bro, this is the ultimate power move. Silvio slides a heavy, cold man's signet ring onto her finger, turning the face inward. Even though it is improvised, it makes the fake marriage feel insanely real. He tells her she is a gallo now, then he walks her right back into the main church, holding her hand the entire time. Max Gordon is standing there with his goons, looking incredibly confused. Silvio does not slow down his stride as he calls out Max's name. Remember, the best revenge is simply choosing your own peace over a bad situation. Max looks around, completely thrown off guard. Silvio smoothly tells him he found the bride Max lost. You can see the gears turning in Max's head, calculating the damage control. He is not hurt, just worried about his public status. He straightens his jacket and orders Audrey to come to him, whining about his 300 guests. But Silvio is not having it. He throws up a hand, speaking in a terrifyingly calm voice that makes everyone freeze. He reminds Max who he is dealing with and drops the absolute bomb that Audrey is now his wife. He calls her Audrey Gallo and tells Max to watch his tone. The silence in that church is deafening. Max realizes he is totally outgunned, and you can physically see his shoulders drop. Bullies only act tough until they meet real power. Max quietly asks Audrey what she just did, sounding totally defeated. Audrey squeezes Silvio's hand tighter, doing this entirely for herself. She stares right at the guy who cheated on her an hour before their wedding, telling him straight up that she is a bride, just not his anymore. The absolute shock on Max's face is priceless. He is getting completely humiliated in front of everyone. Silvio barely turns his head, giving a tiny nod, and his mafia enforcers instantly move. He calmly tells them to remove Max before it turns into a deadlier conversation. Max slowly backs up, totally shaking, while the guards escort him out the door without him daring to look back. Life lesson: never let anyone disrespect you, because eventually the trash always takes itself out. The heavy doors close, and the toxic ex is gone. Silvio looks at her, rubbing his thumb across her knuckles like the last 10 minutes were just a minor scheduling adjustment instead of blowing up 2 families. He tells her to wipe her tears, and Audrey realizes she is crying. Suddenly, slow, sarcastic clapping echoes behind them. It is Aldo, Silvio's brother, and standing there with a highly contemptuous look. He mocks them, calling it quite the performance for their father's funeral. Silvio does not drop Audrey's hand. He stares back with zero anger, stating calmly that their father always knew how to turn any moment into a prime opportunity. He nods at the coffin and walks away. When haters try to shake your confidence, staying totally unfazed is the ultimate mic drop. Silvio does not look back when he commands her to follow. Walking into the sunlight, Audrey has a huge realization. The guy she loved just viewed her as a problem, and now she is married to a mafia boss whose name makes the whole city shake. She sits quietly in his limousine, the ring cold against her skin. Her feet are tucked under her muddy wedding dress, covered in dirt from her crazed escape. She can totally feel him staring, and finally snaps, telling him to stop looking. She sarcastically asks if he has never seen a barefoot woman before. Silvio stays completely chill, telling her he has never seen one quite like her. Stick with me, guys. This is where the dynamic shifts. Life lesson? Sometimes a crazy leap of faith is the only way to see what you are truly made of. Audrey shifts in her seat, trying to act unbothered while watching the city roll by through the tinted windows. Then Silvio leans in close. She feels his body heat right before he whispers that she still looks incredibly beautiful. The tension here is totally insane. Her throat tightens up, but she forces herself to keep staring straight out the window, terrified of what she might see in his eyes. Soon, they pull up to massive iron gates that open automatically. The Gallo family estate is ridiculous, an enormous stone mansion, screaming old money and deadly power, sitting in front of the grey ocean. 5 security cars roll onto the property in perfect formation. A quick life lesson: keeping your guard up is what keeps you safe when thrown into a dangerous new environment. The convoy stops, and the door swings open. Audrey steps out, but the second her bare foot hits the sharp gravel, she winces in pain. Before she can figure out how to walk, Silvio is already there. Without a word, he swoops in, picks her up, and carries her toward the front steps like it is nothing. Her hands grab his shoulders on instinct, asking what he is doing. He does not even look down, asking if she prefers walking on the rocks. He carries her up the massive stone steps and pauses at the door. He looks down at her, joking that he is a traditional guy after all. He gently sets her down on the cold marble floor inside. Life lesson time, folks. Sometimes the people who look the most terrifying are the exact ones willing to carry you through the roughest spots. All right, buckle up, because this story starts with a bang right after a funeral. Believe it or not, picture this. 5 stiff-backed staff members are standing at attention in a grand, echoing entrance hall. Then, Silvio Gallo, a name you're gonna remember, just casually shrugs off his jacket like he's shedding a second skin, turns to them, and in a voice that barely rises above a murmur, but somehow fills every single corner of that enormous room, he drops a bombshell. "This woman," he says, with all the grizz of a calm and a king declaring an air, "is the mistress of this house, Mrs. Gallo." He lets that statement hang in the air, thick and heavy, letting it sink in. Treat her right. Immediately, all 5 heads dip, a silent, synchronized bow of allegiance. And there, right in the middle of it all, under a towering ceiling and the shimmering light of a massive chandelier that glints off pale stone floors, stands Audrey. She's clutching her arms together, a subconscious shield, and her mind is racing. "My parents are still at the venue," she says, her voice a tightrope walk of control. "I have no phone, no bag, nothing. If Max decides to..." She can't even finish the thought because Silvio cuts her off. He says, already loosening his tie, those long fingers working the knot, but his eyes, they're locked on her. "Max Gordon saw you leave with me. He knows what it would cost him to touch anything of mine." She catches that possessive of mine. It's a glaring red flag, but she tucks it away for later. He then pulls out his phone, extends it to her. "Call them. In a few days, we'll have them here. They'll see the house." A ghost of a smile plays on his lips. "And their son-in-law." She takes the phone, her fingers closing around the sleek device. Silvio's eyes sweep over her, a brief, calculating assessment before he moves on. What a start to a marriage, huh? It just goes to show you that sometimes the biggest decisions in life are made in the blink of an eye, and the ripple effects can be absolutely wild. Then comes the interrogation, delivered with the casualness of a chat about the weather. "Are you employed?" he asks, almost as an afterthought. Audrey, still reeling from the whirlwind, replies, "I'm the general manager's assistant." A beat, then she adds, almost begrudgingly, "at Max's company." Silvio's lips twitch, just slightly, a tiny smirk that barely registers but speaks volumes. "Then Max has already accepted your resignation. Talk about a mic drop." Before she can even process that, the grand front door swings open, and in walks Aldo Gallo, Silvio's brother, with an entrance so perfectly timed it feels theatrical. He stops, taking in the scene. Silvio, then Audrey barefoot, dress ruined, a borrowed ring glinting on her finger, then back to Silvio. A slow, silent exhale, and then a laugh bubbles up, quiet but genuine, like he's just heard the punchline to a long, twisted joke only he gets. "Silvio," he drawls, shaking his head. "You couldn't even let someone else have the moment at our father's Cree funeral." His gaze lands on Audrey, a slow, appraising circuit that makes her skin prickle. "You actually brought her home." Audrey, however, holds her ground, arms still crossed tight against her chest. She studies him despite herself, noting the startling similarities. Same strong jaw as Silvio, same imposing height, the same almost military precision in how he carries his shoulders. But his hair is lighter, his coloring a shade paler, and those eyes, a chilling pale blue, identical in shade to his brother's, but cold in a distinctly different, perhaps even more dangerous way. It's a stark reminder that even within the same family, different personalities can emerge, each with their own unique brand of intensity. Aldo, never one for personal space, closes the distance. He leans in, bending slightly, so his face is level with hers, examining her as if she's some rare, unexpected artifact he's just unearthed. "Clean her up a little. She's not bad. Nice hair." His hand actually lifts, reaching for the stray strand that's fallen across her face. But Audrey, quick as a flash, recoils, jerking her head back before his fingers can make contact. 2 steps, that's all Silvio needs to intervene. A blur of motion. "Hands, Aldo." His voice is low, calm, but it's the kind of quiet that makes every molecule in the room snap to attention. "She's a gallo now. Touch what's mine, and you'll explain it to our father yourself." Aldo, completely unbothered, raises both hands in a gesture of mock surrender, his eyes still fixed on Audrey, that amused, practiced glint never leaving them. "I was just saying hello to my new sister-in-law," he says, a smirk playing on his lips. He glances sideways at Silvio. "Though you've always had unconventional taste, mine tends to be more." Silvio, clearly having had enough of the sibling theatrics, turns his back, dismissing the conversation. "Goodbye, Aldo." Another low, knowing laugh from Aldo. He starts to leave, then pauses, turning back. "I'll leave you lovebirds alone." He gives Audrey one last, lingering appraisal before leaning close to her ear. It's a tough lesson, realizing that some people will push boundaries just to see where they are, and standing firm is the only way to protect your space. He's a bit rough in bed. "Try not to make too much noise," Aldo whispers, the words slithering into her ear like a snake. He straightens up, a cruel smile on his face. "We're still burying our father." Then, just like that, he's gone, the heavy door closing behind him with a soft thud that feels utterly, unnervingly relaxed, given the raw tension that had just filled the hall. Audrey is left standing in the sudden, oppressive silence, her jaw clenched so tight it aches. She forces herself to relax it, to release the tension. Silvio's voice, startlingly calm and steady, breaks the quiet from beside her. That's how Aldo says hello. She turns to him, searching his face. His expression is perfectly serious, or at least so close to it that she can't tell the difference. Give it a week. She stares at him for one long, incredulous moment, wondering if he's actually serious or if this whole family is just completely unhinged. Then, because the alternative is saying something she absolutely doesn't have the energy for, she turns to the nearest staff member. "Could someone show me to a room?" Silvio, without missing a beat, turns to the staff. "Prepare Mrs. Gallo's room." The corner of his mouth quirks upward just slightly, and he actually winks at her, full of himself, Audrey thinks, rolling her eyes internally. "Of course, I'm getting my own room." He then dismisses her, turning back to the staff without waiting for her reaction, already moving on to the next command. It's a powerful lesson in how some people simply deflect or rationalize the unacceptable, And sometimes the best response is just to maintain your dignity and seek refuge. Everything she needs, Silvio orders, already moving purposefully toward the grand staircase. Clothes, shoes. I want it all ready in an hour. Audrey lets out a slow, controlled exhale, watching him go. These people, she thinks, shaking her head slightly, they read like characters who just stepped right out of a dark, gothic mafia novel, where the stakes are always life and death, and appearances are everything. She's barely halfway up the sweeping staircase when his voice, sharp and commanding, stops her. Mrs. Gallo. She turns, a hint of exasperation in her eyes. Silvio holds out his phone. Call your family. Let them know you're safe. The guest room she's led to is less a room and more its own private kingdom, a world unto itself. Soaring ceilings, immense tall windows, a bed so vast she could sleep across it sideways, easily bigger than her entire apartment. She sinks onto its edge, Silvio's phone feeling foreign and heavy in both her hands. Silvio Gallo's personal phone, she murmurs to herself. In my hands, in his house, wearing his name. The irony is almost too much. She dials her mother's number from memory, her thumb pressing call, and the line picks up on the very first ring. Audrey, her mother's voice, thin and unsteady, is a raw mix of relief and barely contained panic. What is happening? We came home. Your father and I. The wedding just fell apart. Max was furious. We didn't know where you were. Sometimes life just throws you into the deep end without a warning, and you have to learn to swim faster than you ever thought possible. We were about to call the police, her mother wails, the panic a tangible force through the phone. Mom, Audrey interrupts, her voice a lifeline of calm, though her heart is pounding. I'm safe. I need you to hear that first. There's a slight pause as her mother processes this, then a barrage of questions. Where are you? Are you? Audrey takes a deep breath, knowing this part will be hard. I couldn't marry Max. I'll explain everything. I promise. She presses her free hand flat against her knee, a grounding gesture. But I need you to know I got married this morning. To someone else. Silence. A deafening, prolonged silence. Sex. Then, her mother's voice, sharp and incredulous, cuts through the quiet like a knife. Audrey Palmer, have you completely lost your mind? I'm fine. I'm safe. Audrey insists, hoping the conviction in her voice will somehow bridge the distance. In 2Gs, I'll bring you to where I am. She closes her eyes, a silent plea. I love you. Please don't call the police. She ends the call before her mother can launch into the inevitable next wave of questions. The phone a dead weight in her hands. The luxurious room, suddenly, feels suffocating. She desperately needs a long, hot shower, about 48 hours of uninterrupted sleep, and for her entire life to somehow, magically, make some semblance of sense. But what she gets instead, abruptly cutting through the silence, is the unmistakable crack of gunshots. She's on her feet before her brain even registers what's happening. At the tall window, before she consciously decides to move, both palms flat against the cool glass, peering down into the sprawling grounds below. The estate's back garden stretches out, meticulously manicured at first, then dissolving into wild, untamed wilderness. It's a stark reminder that even when you're trying to find calm, life often has other, more jarring plans in store for you. And there, on the far, expansive lawn, with the vast grey ocean brooding behind him, stood Silvio. His sleeves were neatly folded back to his elbows, revealing strong, muscled forearms, and a rifle was raised to his shoulder. He was tracking something invisible to her, something only he could see, then fired. A clay disc exploded into a million fragments in the air. He didn't even watch it fall, his eyes already locked on to the next target, his focus absolute. From this height, she could clearly see the play of muscle in his forearms, the faint network of veins, and the almost unnerving stillness in his shoulders between each shot. His face was turned away, but she could practically feel the intense, unwavering concentration emanating from him. Each shot was placed with the precision of a decision he'd already made, without a hint of second guessing. Crack. Another disc vanished. Audrey pressed her palm flat against the cool glass, feeling the slight vibration of each report. Every shot echoed through the opulent estate, like a period mark at the end of a sentence she hadn't yet finished reading, like something from her old life being systematically crossed out, one clean, decisive line at a time. She watched him reload without so much as glancing down at his hands, his movements practiced and efficient. This morning she had been standing in a sun-drenched church corridor, clutching white peonies, ready to embark on a life she thought she understood. Now she was in a borrowed room in a sprawling Mafia's estate, wearing a signet ring that felt alien on her finger, watching a man she'd married just 3 hours ago fire a rifle into the moody, grey Providence sky. It's a vivid lesson in how quickly your entire world can shift, proving that sometimes the biggest changes happen when you least expect them, forcing you to adapt to a reality you never imagined. Each shot, reverberating through the air, felt like a bullet precisely aimed at the life she had known just hours before. She understood that now, with her palm pressed against the cold glass, her bare feet touching the even colder marble, and a name she hadn't chosen impressing quietly against every fiber of what she thought she was. Audrey Palmer had confidently walked into that church, believing she knew her destiny. Audrey Gallo was now standing at this window, in this new, bewildering world, and she had absolutely no idea what that woman, this new version of herself, was going to do next. The hot water was already cascading down when Audrey stepped under its comforting spray, and she let it run, luxuriating in the warmth until the pipes finally sputtered and gave nothing more. When she emerged, and feeling slightly more human, a dress was waiting on the bed. It was black, not just dark, but a deep, absolute black, like the finality of an irreversible decision. Its lines were clean, utterly devoid of embellishment, the fabric pulling and draping exactly where it was supposed to, hinting at a quiet elegance. Beside it, a pair of heels, slim and deliberately chosen, seemed to promise a certain poise and power. Someone, she realized, had selected these, knowing precisely the statement they would make. She glanced at the nightstand. Silvio's phone was gone. Had he been in her room? A shiver, not entirely unpleasant, ran down her spine. She turned back to the window. Below, a pergola and a fire pit already casting a warm, flickering glow. Silvio still sat at the far end, silhouetted against the vast, untamed expanse of the ocean beyond. She picked up the dress, then the heels, feeling their weight. In the mirror, her freckles stood out across the bridge of her nose. Her green eyes caught the lamplight, and her hair, still damp at the ends, framed a face that was both familiar and suddenly, profoundly new. It's a fascinating thing, how a change in circumstances can reveal layers of yourself you never knew existed, pushing you to embrace the unknown. Picture this, guys. Audrey looks like she is stepping onto a red carpet, not like a woman who just sprinted barefoot away from a completely ruined wedding. A tiny smirk hits her lips. She mutters that she will just throw her own party. She scoops up that muddy, torn disaster of a white dress and heads out. Outside, Silvio is lounging in the pergola like a total mob boss, a sniper rifle casually chilling next to his whiskey. He watches the ocean, but as Audrey struts past, the heat of the fire pit catches her. She holds out that symbol of her fake fairy tale, One breath. Two. Down it goes. The fabric meant for one special day is instantly devoured. The life lesson here? Sometimes you have to burn the past to light up your future. The flames completely swallow the silk, and Audrey does not even blink. Guys, you know that heavy feeling when you are stuck in a toxic trap that is finally melting off her. For 2 straight years, she shrank herself down, swallowed her pride, and played the quiet girlfriend because that absolute clown Max Gordon called it manageable. What a joke! The fire completely destroys the dress. As if the universe is hitting the reset button, she takes the heat right to the fist. Then, from the shadows, Silvio leans forward. His voice is this low, dangerous murmur. He tells her she is really something on fire. He has been watching her whole villain origin story unfold. Listen to me, never shrink yourself to fit into someone else's tiny little world. Silvio is totally sizing her up. He takes in the black dress and the absolute zero fear in her eyes. He gives this tiny, barely there nod. Inside his head, he's probably screaming, plot twist. This runaway bride just leveled up into a completely different beast. He watches over his whiskey glass as she marches straight at him. The fire is literally glowing behind her. She stops exactly 2 feet away, locking eyes with zero hesitation. The silence is incredibly heavy, but she lets it cook. Then she drops the mic. She tells him she is not that naive girl anymore. And whatever this crazy mafia marriage arrangement is, she is totally in. Nobody will ever make her small again. Let that be a lesson, folks. Stand your ground, even when you are standing in front of a mob boss. Silvio measures her up instead of just reacting, and you can see this wicked little smirk appear. He raises his glass to her and drops a massive truth bomb. Small women do not survive in his world. But before she can even process that, one of his absolute unit security guys steps out of the shadows. The guard drops the bad news. Max Gordon is at the gate, throwing a tantrum with 5 goons backing him up. Silvio does not even break eye contact with Audrey. He takes a slow sip, completely unbothered, and orders them to drag Max to the front garden. Do not let that trash inside. He casually throws the rifle over his shoulder like it is a fashion accessory. Real talk. You and I both know real power does not panic when the ex shows up barking. It just arms up. Audrey watches him stride off, the fire blazing behind her and the ultimate showdown waiting out front. She takes a deep breath, lifts her chin, and marches right into her very first mafia war as the new Mrs. Gallo. Outside, it is pure cinematic chaos. Silvio strolls down the front steps with the rifle still on his shoulder, completely ignoring the 5 heavily armed goons surrounding Max. Max is standing there sweating buckets, trying so hard to look like a tough guy, but completely failing. Silvio stops, looks down at him like he is a bug, and mocks him for having the audacity to show up. Max stammers, throwing his hands up, trying to play the victim card. The lesson here is simple. Fake confidence will always crumble when it comes face to face with the real deal. Max tries to spin this insane narrative, claiming Audrey is just having a mental breakdown from a difficult day. He actually has the nerve to warn Silvio that a mafia don does not want this kind of messy drama ruining his street cred. He demands they hand her over quietly. Silvio just gives him this terrifying, ice-cold smile. He completely obliterates Max on the spot. He points out how pathetic it is to chase a bride who sprinted away from her own wedding. He tells Max that Audrey is not in shock at all. She finally woke up and realized what a tiny, pathetic loser he really is. Then Silvio drops the ultimate bombshell, lowering his voice to a deadly whisper. He casually brings up the cheating. Life lesson time, guys. Your dirty secrets will always catch up to you. You would think Max would back down, but no. He actually tries to negotiate, saying this does not have to ruin their business deals. Then he tries to play his trap card. He smugly claims he still has Audrey's passport and ID in his car, meaning on paper, she is technically still his bride. Silvio just steps right up to him, looking at him with absolute pity. He rests his rifle on the ground and asks if Max really thinks the criminal underworld runs on filing cabinets. He flexes so hard, reminding him his mafia family built that very church. In the Gallo family, a wedding is sealed by blood, a promise, and a priest. Paperwork means absolutely nothing. Here is a massive reality check. Bureaucracy does not mean a thing when you are standing in the territory of a true boss. Okay, picture this. The front door swings open, and our girl Audrey steps out in a pitch-black dress, walking like she literally owns the pavement. Shoulders back, heels clicking on the stone like a ticking timer. She stops right next to Silvio, so close you can feel the tension. Her heart is hammering, but on the outside, total ice queen. Max is just staring like a deer in headlights. Audrey looks him dead in the eyes and asks where his side piece is. Max panics, trying to act tough. He claims he made her, that without his ring, she would be a nobody. Guys, the lesson here is simple. Never let a toxic person convince you they are the author of your success. You build your own worth. Silvio's muscle twitches, ready to strike, but Audrey is already handling it. Audrey does not even flinch. Her face is stone, but her shoulders drop just a tiny bit, like she is finally dropping 2 years of heavy garbage. She looks at Max and agrees, saying he showed her plenty, especially things on her wedding day she was never supposed to see. Boom. The truth is, sometimes the worst betrayals are exactly what you need to finally open your eyes. Max clenches his jaw. Right at that exact second, Silvio pulls the ultimate boss move. No warning. He just wraps his arm right around her waist and yanks her in. Audrey feels the heavy, solid warmth of the mafia dawn against her back. Honestly, standing there in front of the toxic ex, she finally feels completely grounded. Silvio tilts her chin up. She has exactly 1 second to realize what is about to happen. You and I both know a fake kiss when we see one, but this is on another level. She tells herself it is just a performance to wreck Max. But when Silvio kisses her, slow and absolutely confident, she completely melts into it. Across the garden, Max is having a total meltdown, yelling like a jealous ex. When they finally pull back, the air is incredibly thick. Silvio turns to Max, and that chill smile is totally gone. His voice drops into that flat, terrifying mafia tone. He lays down 2 rules. 1, do not touch what is mine. 2, never come back for what is mine. Take notes here. True power does not need to shout to be heard. He gives Max 10 seconds to leave. It is a massive flex. Max just mutters under his breath, completely defeated, and turns his back to walk away. Max and his guys scurry out like scared mice, and Audrey just watches him go. 2 years of her life, totally over, and she just feels quiet inside. But the second they are gone, she flips the switch. She glares at Silvio, completely unamused, and asks where he even found that guy. She locks eyes with the scary boss and drops an absolute boundary. She tells him to never, ever touch her again, and bolts for the house. The life lesson here, guys. Never let a moment of weakness blur your boundaries. The marble stairs are freezing under her shoes as she runs from that intense blue stare. Once she is safely behind the heavy front door, she presses her hands against the wood. Her heart is hammering way too fast. She touches her own lips, remembering the sheer satisfaction of the payback. She stumbles into the dark bedroom, totally questioning her own sanity. Was her racing heart just from the revenge, or was it the absolute fire of Silvio Gallo kissing her? She literally cannot figure it out. A maid knocks on the door, super polite, saying the boss is waiting for dinner, but Audrey is not playing along. She refuses to go down, claiming she needs to rest. Sometimes, stepping back and choosing isolation is the only way to protect your peace. When the footsteps fade away, she walks over to the giant mirror and gently traces her lower lip. She has been kissed plenty of times, but this felt entirely different. She tries to blame it on the insane adrenaline of her whole life flipping in 12 hours. Then she sees it, a ridiculously expensive black lace sleep set. She stares at the lace set and actually laughs out loud, because, honestly, nothing screams relaxing rest after a forced mafia marriage quite like sheer black lingerie, but she puts it on anyway, because sleeping in a tight dress is not happening. Life is wild like that. Sometimes you just have to adapt to the uncomfortable cards you are dealt. The next morning hits her like a freight train. She wakes up staring at the wrong ceiling, in the wrong house, listening to strangers downstairs. She covers her face, completely panicking over what she has done. Still wearing that tiny lace outfit, she drags herself out of bed and rips open the closet doors. Boom! A whole new wardrobe. Every single tag is fresh, and every single item is pitch black. Someone knew exactly how they would fit. Stick with me here, because this is where she realizes Silvio is pulling all the strings. That black wardrobe is just his way of marking his territory. She grabs a sharp, clean-cut dress with a plunging neckline and throws it on. Looking in the mirror, she realizes the assistant is gone. She looks like a mob wife, ready to rule. Never forget that how you dress can completely rewrite how you carry yourself in a room. She heads down to the massive dining room, but Silvio is not there. Instead, it is Aldo, the older brother, sitting there with champagne. He gives her this gross, slow look, up and down, basically calling her a pretty package with a scared secretary hiding inside. Did that hurt? Maybe. But Audrey does not even blink. She grabs her coffee, completely unbothered by his games. Audrey just looks at this guy and throws absolute shade, asking if he is Silvio's twin. Aldo smirks, bragging that he is the older one by 3 minutes. Audrey sips her coffee and fires back, saying she thought the second-born was usually the bigger one. Oh, the disrespect! Aldo's smile freezes. He leans in, trying to intimidate her, asking if she thinks she is dangerous now just because she has the Gallo last name. You and I know she is not taking that bait. She sets her cup down, stares right into his pale eyes, and calmly says she was dangerous long before anyone noticed. Always remember, your power comes from your spirit, not the title attached to you. Aldo stares at her, but instead of Silvio's cold calculation, his eyes are full of pure greed. He leans forward, ready to strike. Aldo drops his voice into that creepy, honest tone people use when they want to destroy your confidence. He asks if she knows about the father's will. Audrey keeps a poker face. Aldo smiles and spills the tea. The father left the entire mafia empire to whichever son gets married and produces an heir first. Boom, plot twist of the century. Silvio did not rescue her from the wedding out of chivalry. She was just the fastest option to secure the bag. It goes to show, if something looks like a fairy tale rescue, there is usually a hidden price tag attached. Audrey absorbs the shock and coldly claims they have a mutual agreement. But Aldo smirks and tells her if she is really that smart, she better figure out which Gallo brother to actually bet on. The tension is absolutely electric when this older, seriously intense guy walks in. He completely dismisses Aldo, sending him away like an intern. He introduces himself to Audrey as Michael Caruso, a guy who has been running things behind the scenes for 25 years. He drops a crucial piece of advice. He tells her to watch her back around Aldo, warning that the guy is basically a walking snake. Audrey totally locks that detail into her brain for later. They reach the office, and the vibe completely flips. Silvio is at his desk, laptop open, totally in CEO mode. Gone is the warlord with a rifle, replaced by the sharp, calculating boss who runs a massive empire. Guys, always remember to adapt to your surroundings. The strongest players know exactly when to switch up their game. Silvio glances up, giving her this hyper-calculating look, and tells her to take a seat. Audrey stares at him. He looks incredibly handsome, but completely emotionally unavailable. She decides to cut right through the small talk and brings up the inheritance. The will. She figures out the massive plot twist. Silvio absolutely had to get married before Aldo to secure his power. She looks him dead in the eye and calls him out, realizing she was just a pawn in his chess game. Silvio does not even flinch. He flat out admits he would have found literally anyone else if she had not crashed into his life. He calls her convenient. Boom. That stings. But listen up, here is the lesson. Being someone's convenience is just the starting line. It is up to you to become completely irreplaceable. Convenient, she thought, a wry smirk playing on her lips, but a low, unsettling feeling tightened in her chest, and she deliberately chose not to acknowledge it, not to name the sudden unease. Fine. She folded her hands neatly in her lap, adopting a composed posture despite the swirling chaos within. Then why am I here? She finally asked, her voice steady, cutting through the silence of the office. Silvio set his pen down with a soft click, his gaze lifting to meet hers fully for the first time since she had sat down. Your family is coming to dinner tomorrow night, he stated, his tone shifting, still level, but now infused with a new, unmistakable weight and underlying purpose. You need them to leave believing this marriage was your choice, that you're happy, that everything is exactly as it should be. Her eyes narrowed, a flash of defiance in their green depths. You care what people think. Silvio rose from his chair, a slow, deliberate movement, and came around the desk, stopping a few feet in front of her. He was close enough that she had to tip her chin up slightly to maintain eye contact, an unspoken challenge. Max has been telling his lawyers and the police that you were in shock, that you didn't know what you were signing, that this marriage is invalid. His voice remained quiet, almost dangerously so, but his eyes were anything but. If your family sits across from a detective and describes a daughter who seemed frightened, confused, coerced, Max gets his investigation. My properties get tied up in proceedings I don't have time for. He held her gaze, unwavering, letting the stark implications sink in. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes, even in personal dramas, the biggest stakes are not emotional, but strategic. And you have to play the game, whether you like it or not, to protect what's yours. Look at this insane power move. Audrey realizes her protection is a total sham, snapping that he only cares about his mafia empire. Silvio doesn't even flinch. He stares her down and says, "You are my business." No metaphor, just ownership. Then he drops the ultimate plot twist. That secret loan her dad took, Silvio bought the debt today. Her family is officially owned by the Don. Audrey's heart is racing. How did you know? She asks. Silvio gives this chilling smirk, gently tilting her jaw up. It's a soft touch, but the threat is deafening. If she bombs tomorrow's performance, her family is finished. Listen, guys, there's a real lesson here. Never take a blind favor from a shark, because fake protection always comes with a heavy price tag. Listen up, because this is where the dynamic completely shifts. Silvio stares Audrey down with pure boss energy, telling her he never makes threats. He just manages what is his. He demands she show up tomorrow, looking like an absolute empress, not some helpless victim. He promises that by next week, their enemy Max will be completely out of ammo. Then he is out the door by 8 in the morning, suited up and glued to his phone like a man running the city. He casually tells her to prep a family dinner before vanishing. You and I can take a real lesson from this moment. Confidence is your absolute best shield. If you walk into a room acting like you hold all the cards, people will have no choice but to treat you like royalty. Stop playing the victim. He tells her he will return after lunch, leaving Audrey completely trapped in this massive estate. We are talking insane. Old money wealth here with endless hallways that scream quiet luxury. She spots 5 different staff members in just 30 minutes, including 2 giant guards standing around like stone statues. Audrey is stressed, wondering how long she has to stay in this golden cage. She has 0 identification, no phone, and no money. Her actual life is just paused on the other side of the city. But she does not just cry about it. She marches straight the beefy security guard at the gate and declares that Silvio is dead wrong if he thinks she will accept being under house arrest. The lesson here is pretty straightforward. You must stand your ground even when you have no power on paper. Your mindset is your truest freedom. Audrey realizes the guard is not budging an inch, so she pivots right back to the house. She storms into the kitchen and boom, massive plot twist. Aldo is just chilling there, totally shirtless, looking like an absolute unit who spends his days fighting instead of typing. He is casually peeling an apple with a knife, radiating pure bad boy energy. She asks if he was lurking there the whole time, and he just smirks, reminding her it is his house too, while calling her bride just to annoy her. Audrey instantly sees an opening. She needs a ride from someone who ignores Silvio, so she looks this dangerous dude in the eye and demands he take her to her apartment. This teaches us something vital about survival. When the main door is locked, you have to be clever enough to find a side window. Always look for the wild card option. Aldo checks her out from head to toe, pops an apple slice into his mouth, and basically laughs in her face. He asks why on earth he would cross the big boss just to run her little errands. Audrey tries to manipulate him, saying she thought he was not the type to play it safe. But Aldo completely shuts her down, coldly stating that they are not allies. Audrey accepts the rejection, but drops a super sassy comeback, telling him to put a shirt on since there are staff members around. Aldo just laughs out loud, teasing her about being afraid of catching feelings. Fast forward an hour, and Audrey is sitting outside in the garden, stressing over her lack of options when a loud car horn makes her jump. Here is a solid life lesson for you all. Never let rejection ruin your vibe. If someone shuts you down, walk away with your head held extremely high. She turns around and guess who is waiting. Aldo is sitting behind the wheel of a sleek black Porsche convertible. He tells her to hop in, and when Audrey reminds him that they are not allies, Aldo drops the ultimate toxic line. He says he just really enjoys making Silvio miserable. So petty, but we love the drama. They pull up to the front gate, and the poor guard tries to stop them, stating Audrey cannot leave. Aldo simply commands him to open the gate, and the guard instantly folds. They speed off onto the main road, wind whipping everywhere, and Aldo smirks, calling her a little bird escaping her golden cage. You and I are going to unpack this together. Sometimes the people who help you do not actually care about you. They are just playing their own selfish game. Do not be afraid to use their hidden motives to get exactly what you need. Listen up, guys. Audrey is not playing around today. She looks right at the windshield and tells Aldo flat out that she is not Sansa's pet bird, and this mafia setup is not her cage. She demands to go grab her clothes. Aldo is just sitting there with an amused smirk. His smirk looks exactly like Silvio's, but instead of blowing her off, Aldo looks like he is enjoying the drama. He hits the gas and the car flies. Audrey holds onto the door for dear life, praying they do not crash. Aldo just laughs, and 20 minutes later, they pull up to her building. Here is a quick life lesson for you. If someone treats you like a bird in a cage, you have to show them your teeth early on, or they will keep you locked up forever. Audrey hops out, and Aldo is already walking to the door like he owns the place. She tells him to stay outside, but he totally ignores her. He says she could run, but they both know he would not chase her. He walks right into her tiny, super clean apartment. 1 bedroom, small kitchen, just a normal life. Aldo starts poking around, dragging his finger over her bookshelf, teasing her that this tiny place was her real cage. Meanwhile, Audrey is speed-running her packing clothes, fake ID, the essentials. Guys, Aldo is getting way too comfortable, mentioning the place smells good. Quick life lesson here, never let a toxic person get too comfortable in your safe space. Once they cross that personal boundary, they will never want to leave. This is where the tension gets insane. Aldo stands right in the doorway, way closer than normal. He leans in, dipping his head next to her hair, and his voice drops super low. He tells her that the good smell is all her, and it is all over the apartment. Audrey is panicking on the inside, but she keeps her face completely frozen. She takes a step back and tells him to go sit down, setting a hard boundary. Aldo gives her this crazy pale blue stare, smiles, and backs off like a total villain. 10 minutes later, she has her bag and is ready to roll. Aldo calls her Cinderella, heading back to her chosen cage. Life lesson time: when someone steps into your personal bubble to test your limits, you have to ice them out instantly. Giving them even an inch is always a massive mistake. Back on the street, they are trading sarcastic jabs, and Audrey is smiling. But boom, plot twist. 2 shady guys are waiting by the entrance. Audrey spots them a second too late, and one of them grabs her arm hard, saying his boss Gordon wants a word. She tries to rip her arm away, but the guy holds on. Out of nowhere, Aldo snaps into total boss mode. His voice goes dead flat, ordering the guy to drop her. Before the goon can even turn around, Aldo clocks him in the jaw. 2 hits, and the guy is laid out cold. The second guy reaches for a weapon, but Aldo already has a gun pointed right at his face. The life lesson here is wild but true. Sometimes the person you thought was your biggest headache turns out to be the only one who has your back when things get real. Aldo looks this guy dead in the eye and drops the coldest line ever. He tells him nobody touches a gallows, and that Audrey is part of the family now. Then he adds the ultimate threat: Silvio might have limits, but he does not. Both of those guys run for their lives. Audrey is stunned by how fast he took them down. They jump into his Porsche and peel out. The roof is down, the wind is crazy, and Aldo is driving with one hand. His other hand rests on the console, knuckles completely busted and bleeding from destroying that guy. Audrey stares at the blood, and Aldo just smirks. Listen, a simple life lesson to remember is that actions speak louder than words. A guy can act like a total jerk all day, but when danger hits, you see exactly who he really is. Aldo teases her, asking if she is worried about him. Audrey stays totally cool, hands him a napkin, and tells him she just does not want blood on the fancy leather. Aldo actually laughs out loud, like a real, genuine laugh, and wraps the napkin around his hand using his teeth. It is such a raw, crazy moment. Audrey finally asks the big question. She knows he wants Silvio out of the picture, so why protect her? Aldo goes totally quiet, his jaw tightens, and he says he wants her owing him instead of Silvio. Audrey shoots back that she does not belong in his debt either, totally shutting him down. You and I both know the life lesson here. Never let someone do you a massive favor without figuring out the price tag. In this kind of world, nobody does anything for free. They pull up to the gates, and Audrey is still feeling relaxed from the drive. But the second she gets out, the vibe totally tanks. Silvio is waiting at the top of the stairs, looking absolutely furious. You can feel the crazy tension building with every step she takes. As soon as she reaches the top, Silvio grabs her arm, not gently either. It is a firm, possessive grip claiming she is his. He looks right at Aldo, saying, "The husband and wife need to talk in private." Aldo throws his hands up, playing the innocent brother, and says she is all his. Silvio drags her inside like a slammed door. Here is a major life lesson. Guys, jealousy disguised as protection is a massive red flag. When someone treats you like a piece of property, it is about control, not love. The second that study door clicks shut, it is pure chaos. Silvio's jaw is ticking, radiating absolute anger. He steps right into her space, asking why she got into his brother's car after he told her not to leave. Audrey backs up until she hits the wall, but she does not back down. Silvio slams both hands on the wall right next to her head, trapping her. He warns her not to test him. But our girl stands her ground. She tells him a contract does not mean he owns her, and she had to get her stuff because his guards locked her in. Silvio stares her down, saying he is not locking her up, he is keeping her alive. Take notes on this life lesson. Standing up to someone who tries to intimidate you is terrifying, but if you let them back you into a corner once, they will do it forever. Silvio is hovering over her, his eyes checking every inch of her face. He tells her she has no clue how dangerous it is out there with guys like Gordon. But Audrey hits him right where it hurts. She tells him he only cares about his reputation and getting his heir. She flat out says she will never sleep with him. Silvio just raises his eyebrows like he is amused. He leans in painfully slow, stopping just one breath away from her lips. The tension is off the charts. You think he is going to kiss her, but instead, he whispers that he never wanted to sleep with her anyway, because she is just not his type. Absolutely brutal. The final life lesson today. When someone tries to crush your ego to keep the upper hand, it means they are secretly intimidated by your mental strength. Now, we hit the intense confrontation. Silvio touches her cheek and drops a brutal truth bomb. He says he only needs a temporary wife to fix his business issues. Then he deals massive emotional damage, stating that when he wants a real family, it will be with a woman he actually loves. Ouch, that is a super harsh reality check. But Audrey is totally built for this. She refuses to let him see how much those words sting. She keeps a perfect poker face, smoothly replying that she is glad they are on the same page. She casually explains she only left to grab normal clothes because she cannot wear fancy dresses forever. Silvio just looks her up and down with ice in his eyes and declares she is forbidden from wearing jeans in his house. The major takeaway here? Never give an enemy the satisfaction of seeing you bleed. Emotional control is true power. Listen up, guys, because this mafia madness is insane. The big boss, Silvio Gallo, is acting cold as ice. He tells Audrey he left a dress for her and demands she plays the perfect mob wife for dinner. 8 p.m. sharp, no exceptions. And the absolute kicker, he warns her to stay away from his brother, Aldo, without even making eye contact. The disrespect is real. Audrey drops a fake smile because she refuses to let him win. She marches to her room, shuts the door, and loses her mind. She rips into her bag, grabbing her fake ID and spare clothes, launching them at the bed. We have all been there, letting anger take the wheel when we feel trapped. But losing your cool never fixes the actual problem. She just stands there, breathing heavy, absolutely furious over the name Silvio Gallo. Audrey is literally shouting at the walls over the absolute injustice of it all. She spots the black dress Silvio left her, complete with a crazy deep slit designed to make a statement. She smirks and whispers, "Not your type, huh? We will see about that. Sometimes a little spite is the ultimate motivator." Fast forward, she heads downstairs, and the Mafia mansion is totally buzzing. The staff is rushing around like crazy to set up formal white flowers. Both Silvio and his brother Aldo have vanished. Audrey is rocking jeans and a loose sweater on purpose, completely rejecting the mob boss dress code. She marches into the kitchen, which smells intensely like roasted garlic and rosemary. The head chef, Giorgio, is standing by the stove acting like he owns the place. Audrey spots a card pushing Silvio's traditional mafia menu and is having none of it. She tells Chef Giorgio she is changing the plan. He tries to argue about the big boss giving strict orders, but she stays super calm, reminding him her husband left her in charge. She demands short ribs and veggies, wanting something simple so her parents do not feel tested by a crime syndicate. Guys, true hospitality is making people feel safe, not just showing off wealth. Giorgio stares her down, warning the ribs take 4 hours. Audrey locks eyes and says they better get cooking. He finally caves, asks about her mother's dietary needs, and gets to work. Audrey walks out after scoring a massive power play. It is a classic Silvio move, handing over the wheel, but making you fight for the keys. Silvio's enforcer, Michael, tracks her down in the sitting room. Audrey is stressing over how to explain the Nobbers mob marriage to her parents. There is zero way to make this sound normal. Michael hands her a brand new phone from Silvio, mentioning the boss prefers. She ditches her old one. Audrey knows this is insanely controlling, but she pockets it anyway. Look, sometimes you just have to take the small wins where you can get them. She jokes about finally calling her friends, but Michael gets dead serious. He stands by the window and drops a massive reality check. He warns her that Silvio is actually trying to protect her. The entire criminal syndicate in Providence already knows exactly who she is, where she came from, and what this sudden mafia wedding really means for the family. Michael warns her that dangerous enemies are watching her. Audrey asks if living in this crazy mob world ever gets easier after his 25 years of service. He looks out at the garden and drops a massive truth bomb. You stop noticing the walls when you trust the person who built them. Listen, trust is everything in life, but right now, Audrey wouldn't even trust Silvio Gallo with a houseplant. Fast forward to 6 o'clock, and her nerves are absolutely wrecked. She presses her shaking hands against the dresser, giving herself a pep talk. She survived the wedding, so she can definitely survive one dinner. She stares at the boring, elegant outfit Silvio laid out for her. It is the exact kind of dress that looks perfect in photos, but completely strips away your actual voice. Ignoring Silvio's boring dress, the housekeeper knocks with a massive package. Audrey unwraps the deep red paper on her bed to find a breathtaking emerald green satin dress. Guys, this thing is scandalous. A plunging neckline and a huge side slit that absolutely does not apologize. Tucked inside is a note telling her to own the table like a queen. Bragging the color will match her eyes and trigger Silvio's temper perfectly. It is signed with a single, aggressive letter A, Aldo, the brother. Talk about a wild plot twist. Aldo is stepping in to sabotage the boss's big dinner. Audrey sits there holding the card, realizing the ticking time bomb in this mafia family just cracked open a door. The real question is, what kind of chaotic vendetta is waiting on the other side? She wonders if Aldo is just poking his brother's anger or playing his own twisted game. She flashes back to her intense standoff with Silvio, remembering how hard she fought to keep her cool when he claimed he wasn't her type. Her fingers brush the green satin, a fabric that clearly does not ask for permission. Listen, true courage is not the absence of fear, it is putting on the revenge dress anyway. She slips it on, and the mirror does not lie. The dress fits perfectly, a calculated move by Aldo to cause maximum mafia drama. She swipes on gold lipstick and deliberately hooks in the diamond earrings Silvio gave her. If you are going to start a fire, you might as well pour gasoline on it. The woman looking back in the mirror is absolutely not a timid runaway bride anymore. Does not look like a woman paying off a mob debt. She looks like pure trouble, and she loves it. Her heart is hammering like crazy, but she takes a deep breath, tilts her chin up, and steps forward. Her heels click against the marble, echoing through the silent mansion. It is that commanding sound that announces your arrival before you enter the room. Down at the bottom, the ticking time bomb himself, Aldo, is leaning against the wall with a drink. He hears her first, tracking the sound. Then he actually sees her, and boom, his signature, arrogant smirk completely drops. He scans her from head to toe, stunned by the satin. He exhales a curse, his voice dropping low as he admits he knew the color would work, but he never expected her to look like a literal war crime. Aldo steps close, whispering that his brother expects an obedient wife to play her part. His eyes have this insane gleam as he tells her she is walking in with a total demolition. He toasts her with a sarcastic good luck, Cinderella. Audrey stares at him for 1 second, totally unbothered, and struts right past him. At the dining room door, she pauses. The room is immaculate. Silvio is sitting at the head of the table like the untouchable boss he is. He hears the door, turns around, and completely freezes. Whatever he was saying just dies in his throat. His face shuts down fast, locking away the shock, and he stands up. Audrey walks straight toward him, owning the heavy silence. He does not blink once, just watches her, completely blown away by this stunning vendetta dress. Picture this. Audrey catches Silvio staring, his eyes tracking straight down to that insane neckline. Bro's knuckles are literally turning white, gripping the table. She casually stops in front of him. He hits her with this rough, deep voice, saying that is not the dress she left in his room. Audrey brings absolute queen energy, looking him dead in the eye to say she didn't like the other one. Right on cue, Aldo strolls in, fighting for his life not to laugh, teasing that it matches her eyes perfectly. Silvio shoots him a death glare that screams pure murder. Before anyone can throw hands, the doorbell rings and the room completely freezes. You know, it really goes to show that sometimes the best defenses against a controlling charm is pure, unbothered confidence. Silvio takes one slow breath, gathers himself, and steps right up to her. Silvio is not playing around. He slaps his hand right on the small of her back, and you can feel the pure pressure of his fingers through that satin. He leans in close, his breath totally warm against her neck, and whispers for her to smile because it is showtime. Then he drops the real threat, murmuring that after dinner, they are having a very private chat about that dress. But Audrey? She smiles, but not for him, bro. She smiles for herself, thinking, you wanted an empress, here she comes. She smoothly slips out of his grip and rushes to the door, just as her parents walk in. Her dad, Arthur, runs a small restaurant, but he instantly clocks the suited mafia goons by the door. Real quick lesson here. Never underestimate a parent's intuition when it comes to their kid's safety. He knows a red flag when he sees one. Then Martha spots her. Martha rushes forward and just grabs Audrey in this massive, relieved hug. Audrey holds on tight, soaking in that familiar scent of home, before her mom leans in and totally panics. She whispers, asking if they are keeping her hostage in this fortress. Audrey quietly tells her mom not to worry, that nobody is holding her by force, but Martha is not buying it for a second. Before things get awkward, Silvio totally flips the switch. He steps up like the perfect gentleman, introduces himself to Arthur, and kisses Martha's hand. He is putting on this flawless host mask so smoothly it is actually scary. A minute ago, he was ready to burn the house down over a green dress, and now he is playing the dream son-in-law. Honestly, guys, pay attention to how quickly someone can change their personality to suit an audience. That is your biggest warning sign. So now Silvio is acting completely calm and polished, pulling Audrey in by the waist while telling her parents what a huge honor it is to have them. Enter Aldo strolling up with a glass of champagne, casually welcoming the bride's family. Audrey whispers to her mom that he is Silvio's twin, and when Martha says they look alike, Audrey throws major shade, saying they do not look alike at all. Aldo totally smirks, while Silvio just squeezes her waist a little harder. Fast forward 10 minutes, they are all sitting at the dining table. Dinner is served, but Arthur is not wasting any time on small talk. He looks Silvio dead in the eye and demands to know how he met his daughter and married her so incredibly fast. Let this be a lesson, folks. A good father does not care about your fancy marble floors or your money. He only cares about protecting his own. Silvio puts his wine down and rests his hand on Audrey's bare shoulder, totally playing to the crowd. He drops this cheesy line, asking Arthur if he believes in love at first sight, claiming he didn't until he met Audrey. Arthur is stone cold, ignoring his drink. Silvio looks at Audrey with fake warmth, asking if she felt the same. Audrey manages a tiny smile, but then Aldo decides to choose violence. He jumps in, pointing out that she was already wearing a wedding dress when they met, calling it an efficiency move to swap her old groom for Silvio. The whole table goes completely silent. Silvio freezes for one agonizing second. Then he shoots his brother a look of pure ice, saying Aldo treats romance like an operational procedure. The lesson today: when toxic family members try to stir up drama, keeping your cool is the ultimate power move. Stick with me here because the tension is wild. Silvio tells the parents he respected Audrey's choice and wasn't about to leave her with a loser like Max. Martha tries to lighten the mood, laughing nervously about how Audrey always found the craziest hiding spots as a kid. Aldo, the absolute menace, stares right at Audrey's emerald dress and winks. He tells her mom that this time she chose a fortress, and the guy who found her is a literal dragon. Under the table, Silvio aggressively grabs Audrey's hand, his thumb rubbing her palm in this crazy, possessive way. He mutters that dragons do not like sharing their treasure. Instead of backing down, Audrey leans in, totally playing his game. Here is a quick life lesson for you. Sometimes you have to play along with the monster just to survive the night. She smiles sweetly, agreeing with him completely. Oh, you guys are going to love this power move. Audrey looks at her mom and casually drops that she is in very safe hands, especially since the back of her dress has such complicated clasps. Silvio freezes instantly under the table. His thumb stops dead, but Audrey keeps playing the perfect wife, gushing about how attentive and gentlemanly he is. Martha totally buys it, looking so relieved while complimenting the dress. But Aldo? He lets out this sharp, knowing laugh, because he completely understands the game she is playing. Audrey smiles innocently and complains that it took her 15 minutes to put on because of the 20 clasps, making it impossible to dress herself. Silvio is literally boiling with rage, squeezing her hand so hard. Look, guys, true power is keeping your enemies smiling while you quietly set all their rules on fire. Arthur just watches. Silvio finally snaps out of it, letting go of her hand to tightly suggest they move on to dessert. By the time her parents are leaving the estate, Audrey is holding on to her fake smile for dear life. Her mom hugs her extra tight at the door and whispers the real talk. She begs Audrey to come see her tomorrow alone, sensing something is horribly wrong. Audrey wants so badly to tell her the truth, to confess that the marble floors and the fancy emerald dress are just a giant, terrifying trap. But she knows she can't, so she just promises to call tomorrow. Martha searches her daughter's face, desperate to find the truth hidden behind the lipstick and fake smiles. Remember this, folks. Your parents will always see through your brave face, no matter how good an actor you think you are. Arthur just stands there, silently worried as the heavy front door shuts. The second that door clicks shut, the entire house just lets out this heavy breath. Audrey stands there for a second, feeling her mom's warning burning under her skin, before finally turning around. Both brothers are right there in their dark suits, staring her down. Aldo is looking way too amused, like he just watched his favorite reality show. But Silvio, his eyes are dead cold, locked onto her with this terrifying restraint that makes her suddenly hyper-aware of every single clasp on her back. She forces her chin up, refusing to let these guys see how exhausted she is, and lightly jokes that the dinner went well. Aldo smirks and calls it practically wholesome. Sometimes, the hardest lesson to learn is knowing when to just walk away from a fight you cannot win today. Before either of them can start World War III, she tells them good night and makes her escape. Look at this tension, guys. Audrey sprints up those stairs way faster than a high society lady should. She can still feel Aldo laughing at her. But worse is Silvio's dead silence, haunting her like a shadow. She shuts her bedroom door, realizing this emerald satin dress is basically a trap. The whole crazy dinner is suffocating her. She twists around, clawing at her own back, trying to undo this ridiculously expensive outfit. Her fingers slip. One clasp holds on for dear life, and just when you think she is safe, a heavy knock hits the door. Without waiting for a real answer, Silvio barges right in. The polite dinner host is totally gone. His jacket is off, sleeves rolled up, looking like pure trouble. Life lesson right here. Never let your guard down when the boss goes quiet. The vibe in this room just shifted to max danger. Silvio gives off a heat that Audrey feels from across the floor. You can literally see the veins popping on his forearms. He locks eyes with her through the mirror, and the butterflies in her stomach instantly catch fire. His gaze drops straight to her trapped hand, then traces every single clasp down her back. Audrey slowly lowers her arm, totally busted. Silvio shuts the door with a terrifying, controlled calmness. He murmurs that she sounds like she needs help. She tries to play it cool and denies it, but he sees right through the bluff. He tells her she is just waiting. He steps up behind her, closing the gap without rushing, completely trapping her in his space. The boss says dinner might be over, but his anger is not. You can feel the heat radiating off him before he even touches her. Get a load of this power play. For a minute, he does not even touch the dress. He just watches her face burn up in the mirror, noticing how frozen she is. He hits her with the ultimate accusation, claiming she wore Aldo's color right at his table just to mess with him. Audrey tries to act tough, but Silvio is not having it. He calls it a straight-up challenge. Then, he slowly sweeps her hair over one shoulder. His knuckles barely brush her neck, but she reacts like he kissed her, and she hates that he sees it. Click. He pops the first clasp open, whispering that she went out with the enemy. Click. Another clasp drops as he reminds her she came back with him too. Click. He accuses her of letting the enemy mark her, his fingers barely tracing her bare skin as the heavy satin slowly parts open. The tension here is insane. That barely there touch is way worse than a real caress, and Audrey feels every second of it. Click goes another clasp. Silvio is furious. She let Aldo stare at her at dinner, but Audrey fights back. She looks him dead in the eye through the mirror and drops a massive truth bomb, reminding him he said she was not his type. Boom. Silvio literally freezes. For the first time all night, the untouchable boss looks totally rattled. The silence stretches out so tight it feels like a physical weight. She challenges him, asking why touching her seems to hurt him so much. He does not answer right away. Instead, he slowly traces her bare back, so lightly it is pure torture. He leans in close, right against her ear, and whispers his twisted logic. Breaking something is easy. Look at this insane tension, guys. Silvio is playing the ultimate long game here. He pops that final clasp, and the emerald satin just drops to the floor. Audrey is absolutely shook, gasping and covering herself up while they lock eyes in the mirror. Does our mafia boss back away? Not a chance. He traces one single finger from her shoulder down to her hands, setting her nerves on fire. Her knees are literally giving out. Then he leans in and drops the coldest line. Good night, Audrey. Dream of all the things I did not do. Just like that, he walks out, leaving her totally frozen and burning from his restraint. Stick with me, because we are unpacking this together. Honestly, the takeaway here is simple. True power is not about rushing to take what you want. Real strength is having the self-control to walk away and let anticipation do the work. Bro, the door literally shuts, and Audrey is finally trying to catch a breather. She jumps into bed, totally convinced she can just sleep off the absolute madness of this mafia boss. But no shot. The moment the mansion goes quiet, Silvio is living rent-free in her head. She is tossing and turning in the dark, but all she sees is this absolute unit of a mobster. The guy had her emerald dress slipping off, holding her completely at his mercy, and then he just hits her with the ultimate Sigma line dream of what I didn't do. Life lesson here, guys. Sometimes the absolute worst thing a dangerous guy can do is literally nothing at all. It messes with your head way more than if he just made a move. She is left absolutely burning up, completely outplayed without him even trying. So Audrey is lying there in the dark, and she is straight up losing her mind. She actually tries to distract herself just to wipe the memory of Silvio's crazy mafia aura off her skin. She figures, hey, my body, my rules, right? She thinks she can outplay the Don's twisted mind games all by herself. But instead of chilling out, the memory just hits her like a massive freight train. She is vividly remembering how his hand literally just stopped. The pure self-control on this villain is insane, and it leaves her a total wreck. She snaps out of it, absolutely furious, gasping for air. Pro tip for you all: you cannot fight fire with fire when the mobster practically owns the matchbox. She is playing right into his hands without him even being in the room, and she knows it. Let us be real for a second. You and I both know she wanted this guy to walk right through that bedroom door. She sits up, heart absolutely hammering, totally terrified because she actually wanted the mafia boss to pull up. Skip to the next morning, and the plot absolutely thickens. Usually, She throws on her standard jeans to show this terrifying gallows house she does not care at all. But today, she completely skips the denim and grabs a sleek, sleeveless black dress. It is not that crazy emerald outfit from before, but she is totally dressing to impress. Life lesson: the moment you start changing your daily wardrobe for a toxic mobster, you have already lost the mental warfare. She is trying to pretend she is immune, but the mirror is telling the exact opposite story. She stares in the mirror, slapping on some lipstick, and has a massive reality check. Like, why are you getting dolled up for a ruthless crime lord? She shakes it off and heads downstairs, completely expecting to see Silvio. But boom, massive plot twist. The Don is nowhere to be seen. It is just his loyal enforcer Michael and Aldo, the absolute menace of a brother-in-law. Michael casually drops the bomb that Silvio bounced for a 3-day business trip. Audrey tries to play it off, but her face drops in pure disappointment. Look, here is a free life lesson. If you are going to catch feelings for a cold-blooded gangster, you better learn a poker face first. Aldo is reading her absolute panic like an open book while sipping his morning coffee, and she is totally busted. Audrey tries to brush off the 3 days thing, but Aldo is absolutely eating this up. He instantly calls out her disappointment with that smug, sarcastic smirk he always... She claps back, demanding to leave the estate to visit her mom. Michael, being the ultimate enforcer, with perfect manners, gets the car ready without blinking. Honestly, she is just desperate to escape, because Silvio being gone is messing with her head way too much. The second she rolls up to her mom's place, Martha drags her inside like they are running from a hitman. Life lesson, guys. A mother's intuition is basically a superpower. Martha slams the kettle on immediately, fully panicking because she knows her daughter is in way over her head with this dangerous, high-stakes mafia family drama. So they are sitting in this super normal, slightly beat-up kitchen, and Martha just hits her with the heavy interrogator stare. She bluntly asks if this notorious underworld boss is actually treating her right. Audrey's brain immediately flashes back to Silvio grabbing her waist and that intense, crazy tension between them in the study. She stammers out that it is extremely complicated, basically swearing she is not locked in a dungeon or anything. But Martha is looking right through her flimsy excuses. You see, the life lesson here is pretty simple. You can lie to your friends, you can lie to the mafia, but you can never lie to the woman who raised you. Martha knows exactly what is up, and she sees the absolute chokehold this boss already has on her terrified daughter. Stick with me here, because this is where the drama absolutely peaks. Martha pushes harder, asking what this dangerous Don actually means to her. Audrey has like 100 fake, safe answers loaded up in her head. She could just call him a shield or a business deal. But instead, she drops the biggest nuke of the century and straight up blurts out that she loves him. The whole kitchen just freezes. She completely exposed herself. Martha totally breaks down, grabbing her hands and telling her not to let anyone else dictate what that means. Life lesson time, folks. Holding on to a massive secret is like holding a ticking time bomb. Eventually, the pressure gets way too high, and the truth just blows up right in your face when you are least expecting it. Absolute cinematic gold. Audrey rolls back up to the massive Gallo estate, and suddenly the place just feels completely dead without Silvio's terrifying boss energy. She is actually missing the guy. Instead of hiding in her room, she heads out to the private beach to stare at the ocean and clear her head. But you know the drama never stops. Suddenly, footsteps crunch in the sand, and boom, here comes Aldo. But he is not rocking his usual mobster suit or holding his signature champagne glass. He is just in breezy white linen, looking like a total model out in the wind. Listen up. Life lesson of the day. The guys who look like absolute angels out in the daylight are usually the exact same ones who will completely ruin your life after dark. He is definitely plotting something right now. Audrey does not even flinch and just hits him with maximum sass, asking if he always stalks his brother's accidental wives. Aldo just smirks and drops down next to her in the sand. Then she brings out the heavy artillery and asks what happened to his mother. Aldo's whole vibe instantly drops to sub-zero. He coldly states she died having them, basically claiming they never cared because they never knew her. But it sounds way too rehearsed, like a totally fake alibi to hide his pain. The life lesson here is crucial, guys. People who act completely heartless and untouchable are usually just hiding the deepest, darkest scars. He tries to play it off like absolute ice, but we all know that massive family trauma is exactly what built this ruthless mafia empire in the first place. Look at this, guys. We just got a massive lore drop. Silvio's entire control freak mob boss persona. It all stems from a totally tragic backstory. 35 years ago, a horrific birth complication meant he learned way too early that the second you lose control, you lose the people you love. Audrey is finally putting the puzzle pieces together, realizing her husband is basically a walking fortress of grief. But here is the crazy plot twist. Aldo, the usually toxic brother, actually reaches out and softly brushes a stray hair from Audrey's face. No sarcasm, no fake smiles, just raw, unscripted tension between them. It goes to show you, family trauma builds the highest walls, but sometimes a moment of quiet understanding is the only thing that can break right through them. Audrey is not holding back at all. She looks right at Aldo and drops the ultimate bomb, admitting she thought he absolutely despised her guts. Aldo plays it cool, brushing off the 35-year-old family trauma and dodging her accusation by saying hate is a very heavy word. But Audrey stands her ground like an absolute boss. She looks this dangerous man dead in the eyes and declares her total loyalty to Silvio, even if their marriage is literally just a business arrangement. For once, Aldo drops his sarcastic Joker act. He stares at her with this intense, chilling calmness, warning her to be careful. It is a harsh reminder for all of us. Loyalty is a beautiful trait, but placing your blind trust in a world built on lies is exactly how you get burned. Fast forward to dinner and the vibe is completely dead. Silvio is nowhere to be found, and his empty chair at the head of the table is giving off major bad omen energy. Even Aldo is sitting there totally zoned out, barely eating, and actually avoiding eye contact with Audrey for once. By the second course, Audrey is absolutely losing her mind from the boredom. She slams on the brakes and tells Michael the butler that she is absolutely done sitting around the mansion doing nothing. Michael tries to hit her with the standard rich wife itinerary, offering horseback riding, shopping sprees, and fancy private lunches with security guards. Sometimes, having all the money in the world means nothing if you do not have a real purpose to wake up for in the morning. Audrey immediately shuts that rich girl nonsense down. She refuses the shopping and the country clubs, demanding real, actual work where she does not need to beg for a permission slip. Suddenly, Aldo snaps out of his coma, laughing and mocking her like she is some little secretary playing dress-up while the boss is away. But Audrey does not even flinch. She fires right back, telling him he is playing a very dangerous game by getting too close. Michael, trying to stop these two from starting World War III right over the dinner table, swoops in to explain that the Mafia family actually runs a ton of totally legitimate businesses. It really proves that standing up for your own independence is always better than living comfortably in a golden cage. Audrey makes it crystal clear that she is not built to be some trophy wife locked in a tower. Michael suggests a spot in the private events and client relations division, dealing with charity dinners and fancy galas. Aldo jumps in with top-tier snark, joking that she will make the dinner tables incredibly dangerous. Audrey secures the bag, accepting the heavy title of Special Projects Liaison, but then Michael makes the classic mistake of saying they need to ask the Don for permission first. Audrey completely shuts him down. She refuses to let her husband control the narrative from miles away. Honestly, you have to respect her hustle here. If you wait around for someone else to give you the green light in life, you will be stuck waiting at the starting line forever. Audrey drops an absolute mic drop moment. She tells Michael that if she asks Silvio, it is a permission issue, but if she just shows up to work tomorrow, it becomes an undeniable fact. Aldo leans in, completely hyped up by the drama, warning her that facts are exactly how massive family wars get started. The next morning, Audrey rolls up to the Gallo Empire headquarters, and it is not some smoky underground mob lair. It is a stunning, highly polished tower of glass and steel right on the water. It is totally clean, totally modern, and honestly, that fake corporate respectability makes it feel even more terrifying. It is a wild reality check. Sometimes the most dangerous traps in life do not look like cages at all. They look like perfectly polished glass doors. The second Audrey walks into that lobby, absolute panic sets in. The employees are literally dodging eye contact, terrified of the boss's wife. No one is saying the word mafia, but the fear is loud and clear. Aldo tries to throw her into the events department, claiming she is perfect for organizing controlled disasters. Michael straight up ignores him, explaining that this specific department keeps her in the public eye, but completely locked out of the family's shady underground operations. Silvio is isolating her because he does not trust a single soul around her. It is a brutal truth bomb. You can surround yourself with all the bodyguards and glass towers in the world, but living a life fueled by paranoia means you will never actually find a moment of real peace. Things get unbelievably spicy by the elevators. Aldo literally waves Michael off, stepping up to escort Audrey himself. The poor butler is stressing out, but Audrey plays it cool, pretending she is totally fine, being locked in a metal box with the family wildcard. The second those elevator doors slide shut, the tension skyrockets. Audrey tries to keep it icy, claiming this is strictly a professional visit, but Aldo is just leaning against the wall, smirking like an absolute menace. Every single floor they go up, the air gets thicker and the breathing gets heavier. She thought she escaped the toxic family drama by coming to the corporate office, but she just brought it to a higher floor. You can change your location all you want, but you can never run away from your problems. Over the next 3 days, Audrey realizes the mafia's corporate side is way too clean for its own good. Everyone is walking on eggshells around her, treating her like royalty mixed with a ticking time bomb. She throws herself into her new job, organizing the massive Harbor Foundation charity gala, which is basically an overhyped party for snobby rich people. She looks at the plans for the silent auctions and the boring black tablecloths, and she is completely disgusted by how lifeless and fake it all is. It gives her the exact same trapped feeling she got when Silvio tried to control her dinner menus. It is a hard lesson we all have to learn eventually. Following the rules and playing it totally safe might keep you comfortable, but it will completely destroy your creative soul. Audrey is taking absolute charge. She tells the event team their fancy setup is pretty but totally pointless. Everyone stares like she committed a crime, but she drops a truth bomb. If you want big donations, make the rich folks feel responsible for the working families. The room goes quiet and actually listens. Soon, her master plan is locked in, including a genius scholarship for Harbour daughters. Meanwhile, Michael is watching like a hawk, and Aldo is failing hard at acting uninterested. There is a huge takeaway for us right here. If you know your worth, you never have to beg for a seat at the table. You walk right in, speak your mind with zero apologies, and force the world to pay attention. Respect only comes when you stop asking for permission. Aldo catches up, smirking, warning her that making rich men feel guilty is dangerous work. Audrey does not blink, clapping back that he loves danger. The banter is elite. Later she heads to the estate, exhausted from the grind. But as the car pulls up, things take a wild turn. Silvio is finally back. He is not chilling in some fancy office like a typical boss. He is out in the field by the ocean, sleeves rolled up, looking lethal with a shotgun as he blasts clay targets out of the sky. It is a massive boss move that reminds me of a solid rule for reality. Never let success make you soft. Even when you run the whole game, you have to keep your own skills sharp. You can never expect the world to hand you everything on a silver platter. You always have to stay dangerous. Audrey is holding her breath. Silvio tracks the clay with insane, lethal focus and shatters it. The gunshot echoes, hitting Audrey right in her bones. She plays it cool, fixing her lipstick in the window before stepping out like an absolute queen. Her heart is hammering, but she keeps her chin up. Silvio does not even turn around. He casually reloads, blasts another target, and only then does he lock eyes with her. He slowly checks her out from head to toe, and his silent stare is so intense it feels illegal. It is crazy how much power he holds by just being perfectly still. Think about the real-world truth hidden in this exact moment. The most confident people never have to rush or make noise to prove they are the boss. Real power lives in the quiet moments. It is all about the patience of holding your ground and letting the world come to you. Picture this crazy scene. Silvio is out there blasting clay targets, and Audrey steps right up to him, breathing in that intense mix of gunpowder and expensive cologne. He asks what her new job title is, completely testing her confidence. She stands tall and proudly announces she is handling special projects. She makes it incredibly clear that this is not some fake vanity role, but actual hard work. Audrey totally expects him to snap and interrogate her for breaking his rules. Instead, the Mafia Boss just calmly shoots another target out of the sky. When she points out that he is not even mad, Silvio gives her this dark, dangerous smirk and admits he actually likes women who have a real purpose. This is a brilliant lesson for anyone watching. Powerful people will always respect you more when you aggressively carve out your own space instead of begging. Silvio looks her up and down in that sleek black dress and says he loves a purposeful woman, especially when she carries his last name. Talk about a line that completely fries your brain. Before she can even process the wild chemistry, he reloads the shotgun and commands her to step up. Audrey admits she has never shot a gun before, and Silvio just softly says he knows. Then he smoothly steps right behind her. We are talking absolutely zero personal space here. He wraps his arms around her to adjust her grip on the heavy weapon, his chest hovering just a single inch from her back. The physical tension is totally off the charts. He is not even trying to show off. He is just naturally dominant. The wisdom to take away from this electric scene: True magnetism does not require loud flexing. Quiet, undeniable confidence is what truly pulls people into your orbit. Guys, picture this. Silvio leans in close, his voice a low rumble right next to Audrey's ear, telling her to stand taller but keep it loose. The moment his hand hits her waist, it is absolute game over for her focus. A literal shock goes straight up her ribs. He tells her to breathe, pressing his palm flat against her stomach through her black dress. And she is fighting for her life, trying to act normal. He tells her to look at the target, but her mind is completely stuck on the crazy tension from the bedroom earlier. Look, here is a quick life lesson, for you never let the heat of the moment distract you from the actual target in front of you. His fingers wrap over hers to fix her grip, making the vibe even heavier. Finally, she pulls the trigger. The recoil almost takes her out, but Mafia Boss is already there, holding her steady. The clay target absolutely explodes in the sky, a perfect clean hit. Audrey turns to him, totally breathless and smiling like crazy. And guys, Silvio does not even look at the shattered target. He is looking right at her with those intense blue eyes. He hits her with the smoothest line ever, telling her that is his girl, bro. Her brain short-circuits on the spot. Then he drops a kiss right on her neck, making her knees give out. But here is the crazy part. He just casually takes the gun and steps back, like he did not just destroy her sanity. He says he has calls to make, leaving her stunned because he literally just got back. The lesson here is simple. Always maintain your composure, even when life completely sweeps you off your feet. He checks out her messy dress, drops a sarcastic comment about how busy she looks, and just walks away. So he heads back to the massive house, leaving Audrey standing there with the wind blowing against her dress. She can literally still feel the warmth of his hand on her stomach, but the silence he leaves behind is deafening. Then it hits her for 3 whole days. She was not waiting to escape this boss. She was actually waiting for him to come back. Fast forward to dinner, and she walks in fully expecting to see him at the head of the table. The dining room is giving pure old money vibes, silver and candles everywhere with the staff moving like ghosts. But bro, both Silvio and his toxic brother Aldo have empty chairs. Here is the life lesson: do not let your expectations ruin your reality, because people will always surprise you. She should have been relieved that those measuring blue eyes and Aldo were gone, but she just feels weird. The room just feels totally empty, and the butler, Michael, catches her looking. He gives a stiff nod and drops the news that both the big boss and his brother are out in the city for business. Audrey just freezes. Like, are you kidding me? Silvio disappears for 3 days, comes back just long enough to act all obsessed in the field, kisses her neck, and then ghosts her for a dinner. She tries to play it cool and starts eating, but her irritation is literally burning under her skin. She has to give herself a harsh reality check. She married a literal mafia nightmare for an arrangement, not for love. The life lesson here is crucial: never romanticize a strictly business deal, or you will end up playing yourself. She realizes she is sitting there staring at empty chairs like some desperate wife, and her throat completely tightens up. Suddenly, her trash ex Max pops into her head, but she does not miss him at all. She is just totally embarrassed. Max always made her feel small, and only kept her around when it was convenient. She got over him fast, because she finally saw his true colors. But Silvio is a whole different beast. He makes her crave things she has no right wanting. She shoves her plate away, tells the butler she is not hungry, and bails. The next morning, she wakes up way early, grabs Silvio's exclusive black credit card, and decides to hit the town. Here is a solid life lesson for everyone. Sometimes the best way to regain your power is to take action instead of waiting around. The butler sets up her security, and she does not even ask where her husband went. Leaving before he even notices is a massive win, and she watches the city fly by from the window. Audrey is looking like an absolute boss with her hair down and dark sunglasses on. A wicked thought hits her if Silvio wants to parade her around as the perfect mafia wife. He is going to pay heavily for the costume. By noon, every high-end store is treating her like royalty. They see that black card and basically roll out the red carpet. She stops pretending to hate it and tries on some insane silk heels. But then she finds the one, a deep cherry red dress that just screams dangerous money. It does not beg for attention. It straight up demands it. She looks in the mirror and makes a choice. Here is your life lesson, guys. Always define your own identity before someone else does it for you. Black was Silvio's control. Green was his toxic brother's game, but red is all hers. She buys the dress, the shoes, and a petty matching bag. Listen up, guys. Audrey rolls back to the mafia estate, looking like a boss, flexing way more shopping bags than she needs. Silvio and Aldo are posted up by the stairs watching her. Aldo jokes about retail therapy, but Audrey does not blink. She fires back that she just discovered Silvio's credit card has 0 limits. Silvio gives her this ice-cold stare and says it does have a limit. She just did not spend enough to hit it. Absolute menace energy right there. Aldo cracks up while Audrey struts upstairs. Her room turning into a luxury boutique in seconds. Here is the real lesson for you today. Sometimes you just have to walk into a room and claim your space without looking back, because true confidence is the one thing you can never buy with a limitless card. Audrey lays out this insane cherry red dress and hops into a hot bath to wash off the day. She is just trying to catch her breath after Mafia Boss moves without asking permission. Suddenly, the door swings open. Boom! Silvio is standing right there. He has ditched his suit jacket, sleeves rolled up like a guy who just finished handling mafia business. He scans the room, checking the designer bags, the dress, and finally locks eyes with her in the tub. Audrey is covered in foam, chilling like she planned this exact dramatic moment. She completely did not, but she refuses to sweat it. The lesson here is simple, guys. When life catches you totally off guard, you never let them see you panic. You just own the moment, hold your ground, and act like you orchestrated the entire thing. Silvio leans against the frame, calling her Audrey Gallo. She snaps that he needs to knock, but this guy smoothly fires back that she should answer, so he does not worry. Audrey wants to be mad, but the chemistry is completely off the charts. She calls him out for disappearing all day, asking if ghosting is a mafia husband tradition. He just smirks and asks if dropping cash at luxury boutiques is her new tradition. Then he drops the hammer. Be ready by 7 o'clock. Tonight is their very first public appearance together at the gala. Here is a solid truth for you. Real power is never about raising your voice or making a scene. True power is keeping your cool and holding eye contact when the stakes are pushed to the absolute maximum. Audrey proudly says she chose her own dress, but Silvio just says he knows. That drives her crazy. Then he casually points to a velvet box on the table. He bought her diamonds without even seeing the dress first. She asks how he could possibly buy jewelry for an outfit he has not even laid eyes on. Silvio just stares right through her and says he knows exactly what the color red needs. Audrey refuses to back down, asking him what red needs. He holds her gaze and drops one word: restraint. Then he walks out, leaving her completely stunned in the bath with her heart racing. The lesson is wild but true. You do not always need to see the full picture to know exactly what piece is missing. Sometimes leaving things unsaid speaks way louder than screaming for attention. 7 o'clock hits, and Audrey steps out in that cherry red dress looking like an absolute weapon. The diamonds Silvio bought are catching the light, shining fiercely. She takes a breath and walks down the stairs where Aldo and Silvio are waiting. Aldo actually loses his smile. The guy who always has a sarcastic joke is left completely speechless, and that silence hits hard. But Audrey is only focused on Silvio. The boss does not move an inch. He just watches her descend, tracking the dress, the ice on her neck, and her matching lipstick. It is pure cinematic perfection. The life lesson here is simple. When you finally step up and own your power, you never need to force it. Your sheer presence alone is enough to shut down the loudest people in any room. The tension at the bottom of the stairs is so heavy you could slice it. Silvio praises her dress, and Audrey touches the diamonds, firing back that he chose well too. Before the chemistry can explode, Michael interrupts to say the cars are ready. Then he drops a massive plot twist. Max Gordon, her toxic ex-fiance, is officially on the guest list. Boom. Audrey grips Silvio's arm in shock. Aldo mutters that tonight will be very memorable. Silvio does not even flinch. He just covers her hand and coldly says, "Let it, total boss move." The life lesson here is simple. You cannot control when the ghosts of your past show up to test your peace. But if you have built a strong foundation and have real loyalty by your side, you can welcome the drama and absolutely crush it. The moment they step out of the car, the pop-up flashes are absolutely blinding. It is a wild sea of reporters and mob security. Everyone turns their heads the second Silvio Gallo hits the red carpet with Audrey. Instantly, Silvio slides his hand right onto her bare back. It is a smooth, calculated move that claims her in front of the entire city. Audrey lifts her chin, the diamonds shining like ice, while her red dress flows like fire. She keeps trying to tell herself, this is just a fake mafia marriage, just another business performance. But you and I know how these stories go. Here is the life lesson. You can wear a mask, and to yourself you are just playing a game. But the bold energy you project to the outside world is exactly the reality you will end up building. Audrey is surviving the cameras when, out of nowhere, Silvio leans down and kisses her neck. The paparazzi absolutely lose their minds. It is a calculated move to show the world they are united. He pulls back, holding her waist, and whispers for her to smile. She fires back that she is. Then he traces her spine, sending a shockwave through her, and whispers, "Now you are." Total menace energy. Suddenly, a reporter screams over the chaos, asking if Silvio married Max Gordon's runaway bride on the exact day she ditched him at the altar. The red carpet goes dead silent. Here is the lesson, guys. Haters will always try to rattle you by throwing your messy past right in your face. The ultimate power move is keeping a sharp smile and never letting them see you sweat when the pressure drops. Audrey feels that old panic creeping up, but Silvio does not even blink. He pulls her closer so every camera sees them as a united front. With absolute ice in his veins, he tells the press that his wife simply walked away from a man who did not deserve her. The reporter tries to push back, but Silvio completely shuts him down. He declares that Max lost a fiancée, but he gained a woman the city will remember for greatness, not a cheap scandal. Audrey is stunned, not from fear, but because this man just elevated her instead of hiding her. The crowd literally parts for them as they walk inside. Look, here is the lesson to wrap this up. A real partner never runs when your messy history is exposed to the public. A true partner stands firm, changes the narrative, and forces the entire world to put respect on your name. Let me set the scene for you guys. because this is an absolute masterclass in taking control. Audrey did not just rebuild this mafia gala in 3 days. No, she brought it back from the dead. She ditched the boring abstract art and slapped up gritty, real photos of harbor workers and families. Real people. She tossed out the sponsor list and opened with an actual story. And guess what? The early money is already flooding in. Silvio is just standing there, completely stunned, watching her orchestrate the light and seating like an absolute boss. She is moving with the cold, calm energy of a woman who was underestimated for way too long. Here is a little lesson. When people put you in a box, do not just step out of it. Tear the whole box apart and build your own stage entirely. So she walks back over to the boss, and he is just staring at her like he is taking in the red dress, the diamonds, the whole untouchable vibe she has going on. He goes up to the microphone, and everyone is expecting the usual boring, stiff corporate speech about legacy and community. But no, Silvio looks right past all the big shots, finds Audrey in the crowd, and drops a massive truth bomb. He tells the room that this was supposed to be just another hollow rich guy flex. But Mrs. Gallo changed the game. He tells them she turned this whole fake performance into actual purpose. It just goes to show that authenticity is the ultimate power move. You do not need to fake it to win over a crowd. Just be entirely real, and the right people will always respect the hustle. Listen to this line because it is heavy. Silvio literally tells the crowd, I gave her a room full of powerful people, but she gave them a reason to feel human. The crowd absolutely loses it. Everyone is cheering, raising their glasses to her. But Audrey? She only sees Silvio. The look in his eyes is not that toxic, possessive boss look anymore. It is pure, unguarded pride, and it completely scrambles her brain. She has no defense against genuine respect. Meanwhile, the brother, Aldo, is just lurking with a drink, watching them. Then, boom. Her trash ex, Max Gordon, sneaks up on her. The lesson here is simple. The exact moment you start winning in life, your past will always try to creep back in and test your new boundaries. Do not let those ghosts ruin your new empire. Order Audrey to face Max, making sure they are in public so he cannot pull anything crazy. Max looks at her red dress and diamonds, practically seething with jealousy. He tries to roast her, saying she went from a secretary to playing dress-up with a new man holding her leash. Oh, he went there, but Audrey does not even flinch. She looks right at this guy and tells him she was only a secretary when she was busy fixing his broken life. She says she only felt small when he tried to control her. What a comeback. And right on cue, the boss himself, Silvio, rolls up. He slides his hand right onto her lower back, a total dominance move. Sometimes the best response to disrespect is showing exactly how much you have leveled up. Let your massive success be your loudest revenge. Silvio steps in, and his voice is ice cold. He tells Max that Audrey was never small. He completely dismantles this guy, saying Max had a woman who could literally rule a room, and he chose to call her manageable. Silvio drops the hammer, telling him that this mistake says absolutely nothing about Audrey, and everything about the pathetic size of the man standing next to her. Max is just standing there with his mouth open like a fish. Silvio gives him one last warning to enjoy the party quietly, then gently guides Audrey away. It is such a cinematic moment. The real takeaway here, never let someone else define your worth just because they are too weak to handle your true potential. If they cannot see your value, that is their loss entirely. You just keep moving forward. As they walk away, Audrey tells Silvio he did not have to step in like that. Silvio just calmly replies, I know. That short answer just melts her, sending warmth right through her chest. It is such a flex. Later on, the gala is proving to be a massive success. Donations are through the roof, and all the rich wives are obsessed with the new vibe. Silvio is off handling business with some shipping executives, and Audrey is locking down hospital funds. Then, right when she gets a second to breathe, the wildcard brother, Aldo, slides up to her with a drink in his hand. He jokes that making the guests cry before the main course was a brutal move. Remember this simple truth. True influence is not about flexing your bank account. It is about making people actually feel something real. Audrey does not drop her perfect host smile for a second. There are cameras and gossips everywhere, so she has to play it cool. She hits Aldo back, saying she thought he liked cruel things. Aldo gets this intense look and says he likes honesty, and tonight was both. It was a rare, genuine compliment from the snake himself, and it actually catches her off guard. But then Aldo pushes his luck. He steps way too close and casually brushes his thumb right against her bare waist, right where the red dress dips down. It is a calculated boundary push. Audrey keeps her smile glued on, but her voice turns into an absolute weapon. The lesson in this moment? You have to keep your composure even when people test your limits. Never let your enemies see you sweat when you are in the public eye. Audrey calmly but dangerously tells Aldo to never touch her like that again. He tries to play it off, claiming he is just congratulating her. But Audrey sees right through the game. She tells him flat out that he is just using her to test his brother. She drops the ultimate loyalty check, stating clearly that no matter how this fake marriage started, she is fully loyal to Silvio, and she actually cares about his opinion. Aldo's smug face completely shatters. He did not expect that level of devotion. But here is the problem. Across the massive ballroom, Silvio only sees the physical closeness. He sees his brother's hand near his wife. Life is funny like that. Sometimes doing the right thing still looks like the wrong thing from a distance. Managing perception is an absolute must. Silvio is not letting that slide. He tracks Aldo down by the staff exit, cornering him with this terrifying cold energy. He tells his brother flat out to keep his hands off his wife. Aldo just smirks, fully admitting he loves taking things that belong to Silvio. But the boss is not playing games tonight. He tells Aldo he does not want him looking at her, talking to her, or even letting his shadow cross her path. He warns that this will end horribly for him. Aldo, being the absolute menace he is, asks what makes her so different. He asks if she is just another piece on Silvio's board. It is a brilliant psychological attack. We are about to uncover what really went down next. But remember this, toxic people will always try to project their twisted games onto your genuine connections. Let us jump over to what the brothers are doing. Aldo is tilting his head, just loving the drama he is stirring up. He starts taunting Silvio, calling Audrey a pretty little condition just to keep the Mafia thrown away from him. He even suggests that maybe she actually likes him instead. Silvio stares at his brother with pure lethal energy. When Aldo keeps pushing, Silvio's voice drops to absolute zero. He claims Audrey as his own, completely shutting down the disrespect. Here is an important life lesson: set firm boundaries with toxic people immediately, or they will walk all over you. Aldo tries to joke about ownership, but Silvio completely breaks character. He admits he actually cares about her, and those quiet words are way more terrifying than any threat. For the first, Aldo's smug smile completely vanishes. Now they are back together in the car, and the vibe is incredibly tense. Silvio is staring out at the dark road, completely ignoring her. Just hours ago at the gala, he was absolutely magnificent, wrecking her ex-Max and showing her off. But the second they got some privacy, he turned into a literal ice block. Audrey tries to let it slide, but remembers how his creepy brother Aldo touched her waist. She finally breaks the silence and calls him out. He flatly says he has nothing useful to say. She snaps back that it has never stopped a man before. Take note of this life lesson. Guys, communication is everything, and giving the silent treatment only breeds resentment. A muscle twitches in his jaw, but he keeps looking away. Finally, he drops a super-loaded comment, telling her she handled his brother well tonight. The accusation is loud. Audrey is not backing down for a single second. She tells him straight up that she ordered Aldo not to touch her. But Silvio hits back, saying it looked like she told him with a huge smile. The sheer nerve of this guy. Audrey is absolutely stunned, but she fires back, reminding him they were in a ballroom packed with reporters. Did he really expect her to slap his brother and ruin the family reputation in front of the whole city? Silvio finally looks at her, and bro, his eyes are full of that deep, quiet jealousy. He says he wanted Aldo to know better than to touch her at all. Audrey completely snaps and points out that Aldo did know better, which is exactly why the snake did it. Here is the life lesson: do not let someone else project their insecurities onto your logical decisions. The rest of the ride is totally silent, and Audrey is fuming. Look at this, guys. Silvio steps out first, playing the perfect gentleman. And he offers his hand because the driver is watching. And in this underworld, appearance is everything. The second they get inside, bro drops her hand like it is on fire. He says goodnight and bounces to his room without an explanation. Audrey is left standing in that massive hall. Those heavy diamonds suddenly feel like pure ice around her neck. He hyped her up in front of the whole city, just to ice her out in private. But here is a simple lesson for you. You can only push someone so far before they finally snap. Audrey was totally done being the quiet, runaway bride. She was sick of being told what to wear, where to sit, and how to breathe by these controlling bosses. The ultimate payback was officially brewing. She was not about to stand there while Silvio hid his jealousy behind a wall of silence. Audrey locked her eyes on the hallway, her pulse going crazy. Her anger was burning way hotter than her fear. She marched straight to his door. That red dress was still clinging to her, radiating the heat of the gala they'd just survived. She knocked hard. For a second, there was dead silence. The simple lesson here is that sometimes facing your fears head on is the only way to get the truth. Then the handle clicked, and Silvio stood there. His white shirt was unbuttoned at the throat, sleeves rolled up showing off those scarred forearms from his street days. His face was a total blank slate. You could not read this mafia boss at all, and the tension in the air was absolutely insane. That blank stare made her snap back to reality. No yelling, just Silvio standing there watching her like a hawk. Audrey tilted her chin up, refusing to let his silence make her small. She demanded to know what his problem was. Guys, this dude leans against the frame, totally relaxed, and calmly asks what she is talking about. That fake innocence almost pushed her over the edge. She stepped right up to him and told him to drop the act. The simple lesson here is never let someone gaslight you into doubting reality. Her voice dropped low and fierce. She told him he does not get to play the loving partner in public, kiss her neck for the cameras, and then treat her like a total stranger in the car. The confrontation was pure peak drama, and she was holding her ground. A flicker of emotion flashed in his eyes and vanished. Audrey saw it and hated that she cared. Silvio looked at her lips, then back to her eyes with that cold stare he used during interrogations. He asked if that was really what bothered her. Embarrassment hit her so fast she had to stay angry to survive it. She snapped back, saying it bothered her being treated like a wife only when convenient. Boom, she actually said the word, wife. The vibe got incredibly dark. It shows us a simple lesson: words have serious power, so always choose them carefully. Silvio stood up straight, grabbed her chin, and forced her to look at him. He stared at her with this intense, possessive energy and slowly repeated the word wife. She realized her mistake way too late. That word hung in the air like a ticking time bomb. He let go of her chin, but her skin was burning. She stepped back furious with herself and tried to bail. She told him talking was impossible. But guys, Silvio moved with hitman speed. His hand locked around her wrist, and in a flash he pulled her inside and slammed the door. She spun around, eyes blazing, ready to fight. Then he dropped the ultimate plot twist. He demanded to know what was going on between her and Aldo. Boom! The whole night suddenly made sense. Aldo touching her waist, her polite smile, Silvio glaring from the ballroom corner. Here is a simple lesson. Jealousy turns the coldest person into an absolute storm. It was never about his strict mafia rules. The boss was just insanely jealous. You and I are going to unpack this together, because the tension is absolutely off the charts. Audrey stands her ground, keeping her voice level, even though she wants to rip Silvio apart. She looks the boss dead in the eyes and says, "That is your brother. There is nothing going on." But Silvio stalks closer, his blue eyes going pitch black with lethal jealousy. He growls that Aldo touched her. Audrey fires back that she told him to step off because she is loyal. Silvio leans in and asks the ultimate trap question. Is she loyal to their contract or to him? It reminds you that in life, genuine trust is never just a piece of paper. It is earned every day. Audrey tries to play it cool, but the Don yanks her waist, pulling her red dress flush against his chest, whispering that tonight it matters. Audrey clutches his shirt, hanging on just to stay upright. She is not backing down. She snaps that he does not get to play the jealous card. He cannot just ghost her, act like he owns her, and then punish her because his brother wanted a reaction. Silvio stares at her hands, and guys, that is her final warning. He wraps his arm around her back and crashes his lips into hers, so fast she cannot breathe. It is a total collision of dominance. She gasps in shock, and Silvio instantly pins her hard against the wooden door. It goes to show, sometimes our loudest conflicts just mask what we truly desire deep down. Her hands slide past his unbuttoned shirt, finding the bare heat of his chest, and all that furious anger instantly melts into absolute chaos. He doubles down, kissing her harder and short-circuiting her brain. Audrey stops fighting. Her fingers dig in as his hand slides to her, bare back the spot his brother Aldo dared to touch earlier. But this time, it is a fierce reclamation. He trails his lips down her jaw, right where he marked her for the cameras. That public stunt was classy, but this is pure, unhinged boss energy. The guy has snapped. She breathes his name, giving away how much she wants him. Honestly, we can learn from this. You cannot outrun your own truth forever, no matter how hard you pretend. Silvio lifts his head, eyes burning like blue fire, his restraint totally shattered. He whispers, rough and low, "You came to my door." Audrey just stares back, holding him captive by the collar. His grip tightens on her back. Audrey knows she should walk away, but her pride is lagging way behind her instincts. She hates him for seeing how hooked she is, but then she just yanks him right back in. Silvio lets out a stunned groan before crushing his mouth against hers again. He literally picks her up in one massive move. Her heels leave the floor, and the room turns into a blur of city lights and sliding red silk. He drops her onto the edge of the desk, so hard she gasps. He stands right between her knees, chest heaving, his shirt completely wrecked. It is a powerful reminder to always own your choices in life, because hesitating only makes the fall harder. Audrey stares down this dangerous man who weaponized his own self-control all week, and the second she reaches for him again, yeah, it is game over. The boss is totally undone. Guys, the tension is literally off the charts. Silvio drops the slow game and goes for that red dress like a man starved. Audrey is completely here for it, gripping his hair as he kisses her shoulder. That dress was her challenge, but now it is totally game over. He slides his hand up her thigh and actually hesitates. But Audrey? She grabs his hand and pulls it all the way up. Boom! The guy freezes for a second before going wild, making the whole world fade out. No mob bosses, no reporters, no fake rules, just them. If there is a life lesson to pull from this chaos, it is pretty simple. Sometimes you just have to stop overthinking every single move. Let go of the control you think you need, and let yourself feel something real. You cannot put your heart on a strict schedule. Let us look at this. Audrey thought falling for him meant losing her edge, but she actually unlocked her true self. Silvio scoops her up from the desk, carrying her to the bed. By the time they hit the mattress, that red silk is gone, and she is totally done making excuses. Silvio lays her down, struggling to stay gentle. You can see it in his eyes. The fake marriage contract is officially tossed out the window. It is just pure truth between them now. Later, she wakes up super cozy, feeling his fingers softly brushing through her hair. He is just staring at her with zero expectations. If we are talking life lessons, this totally proves that the best kind of love does not demand anything from you. It simply appreciates you exactly as you are, right in the quiet moments. Bro, the morning sunlight is hitting them like a movie filter. It softens the room, but let us be honest, Silvio still looks like a total menace. He is wide awake, locking those intense blue eyes on her, patiently stroking her hair. He drops a smooth, "Good morning, wife," and you can practically see Audrey internally panicking as she blushes. Before she can even throw back a snarky comeback, he shuts her down with slow, teasing kisses. His hand slides down to her waist, and she tries to stop him, catching his wrist while laughing and shivering all at once. His smile just turns super dangerous. Listen, a real life lesson here is to never underestimate the power of being present. Take a second to actually appreciate the people right in front of you, instead of always rushing into your day. You guys are not ready for this power move. Silvio whispers that she drives him crazy, and Audrey absolutely flips the script. She pushes this big boss onto their back and climbs over him. He spent their whole fake marriage making the rules, right? Not anymore. She leans in, brushing his lips, and hits him with the ultimate line. "In this bed, I make the rule." What a flex, Silvio laughs, calling her wicked, but his hands are already on her waist. Giving in does not feel like losing. It feels like a choice. Later, they are tangled in the sheets, that red dress tossed aside. The life lesson here is about owning your confidence. Claiming your space is never about control. It is about knowing your true worth and fully leaning into a real partnership. Picture this, guys. The Mafia Don, Silvio, is actually having a rare quiet moment. No bullets flying, just him and Audrey in the gallows house. She drops a massive question, asking why his old man cared so much about marriage in the family will. The boss doesn't flinch. He just hits her with the cold truth. His dad didn't care about love at all. He only cared about the empire. Structure, heirs, pure power. You and I both know there is a huge life lesson here. Sometimes the folks who build the biggest empires are the most emotionally broke. It is a harsh truth, but you cannot build a dynasty on feelings. Audrey looks at his face, and realizes this absolute powerhouse of a man is carrying decades of family trauma, totally clueless about how to unpack it. Silvio drops another massive bomb. He tells her the old man wanted a puppet with a family, not a real king. Then Audrey brings up Aldo, the guy who acts like the universe owes him a debt. She connects the dots, realizing Aldo uses Silvio as his ultimate punching bag. Silvio confirms it. Aldo could not take down their dad, so he targeted the closest face he could reach. But wait, here is the plot twist that changes everything. Silvio reveals his mother passed away the exact day he was born. Nobody directly blamed him, but they never told him it was not his fault either. The life lesson here hits deep. Unspoken blame can destroy a person faster than a bullet ever could. Audrey finally sees him not as this terrifying mafia boss, but as a broken kid carrying a heavy weight. Think about how insane this dynamic is. They handed this kid a criminal empire before letting him be a child. Audrey figures out the entire twisted vendetta. Aldo thought Silvio stole his throne, while Silvio thought he stole his mother's life. Silvio gives a painful smirk, joking that she makes trauma sound organized. Audrey claps back, saying, "Wounds are organized. People just bleed from unexpected places." Honestly, we can all learn from that. Hurt people always lash out in ways that make zero sense until you find the root cause. Silvio looks at her like she just cracked the ultimate bank safe. She opened the darkest room in his mind and did not even flinch. For a guy who survives on pure manipulation, this level of absolute honesty is a massive shock to his entire system. Okay guys, listen to this because the fake marriage trope just leveled up. Silvio drops the absolute ultimate bombshell. He tells Audrey he wants to marry her again, but for real this time. Out in the open, front and center, no sketchy side deals, and definitely no X-Fiance drama crashing the party. He literally kisses her hand and says he wants the whole world to know she is his actual choice. Bro, Audrey is absolutely shook. She is lying there, trying to process this massive flex, and finally hits him with the real question. She is like, "Wait a second, last week, I was just your convenient fake wife and your ultimate escape plan. Why on earth are you actually choosing me now?" And you know what, guys? Sometimes the best things in life happen the second you completely stop pretending. Audrey is practically holding her breath, waiting for the catch. But Silvio goes full romantic mob boss on her. He leans in and hits him with the raw truth. He says, "I want you because you walked into my crazy, dangerous life completely terrified, yet you still looked at me like I was the one who needed to watch my back. You challenged the absolute boss." He tells her she saw right through his tough mafia exterior, saw his deep trauma, and did not treat him like he was weak. He confesses that his future is no longer just about guarding his cold empire. It is about her standing right by his side. Honestly, that is a serious life lesson right there. True love is not about finding someone perfect. It is about finding someone who sees your absolute darkest scars and decides to stay anyway. Look at this, guys. Fast forward 3 months, and this gloomy mafia mansion is completely changing its vibe. The fake contract thing is totally out the window. Breakfast is suddenly pushed back 10, then 20 minutes late. The staff is catching on, right? The maids are double knocking. The guards stare at the ceiling when Audrey walks out of Silvio's office with totally smudged lipstick. Absolute cinema. Then we have Aldo being his usual sarcastic self. He sits at the breakfast table, watching Silvio get all protective over Audrey, and just starts roasting them. He literally tells the whole room that everyone is pretending not to know why they are waking up so late. Lesson here? You can never hide genuine happiness from the people around you, no matter how hard you try to play it cool. Michael, the ultimate stoic bodyguard, is standing there pouring coffee like a guy who survives by never laughing at the boss. Audrey is blushing hard, hiding behind her mug. But underneath that table, Silvio is holding her hand so gently, proving this crazy new life is actually permanent. And bro, Audrey is leveling up massively. Over at the Harbor Group, the staff stops shaking in their boots and starts respecting her as the boss lady. Department heads are running to her to fix disasters before they blow up. She is totally mastering the chaos of rich donors, toxic sponsors, and judging wives. It is wild to watch her grow. Here is a little wisdom for you. Sometimes you just have to step into the big shoes and own your space, but it was because confidence eventually becomes your reality. Audrey realizes that real power is not about screaming the loudest. It is about making quiet moves, rewriting rules, and turning this into actual passion. She completely takes over the Harbor Foundation. She is out there talking to nurses, social workers, and moms who have been totally ignored by the system. She is building an empire of empathy. And Silvio? He is out at fancy dinners bragging like a proud husband, straight up telling council members that his wife built the whole thing. He is so hyped about her. Then one night, she walks into his office looking like a queen, ready to drop a massive proposal on his desk. She has that intense look, ready to fight for her vision. Just a reminder, guys, true influence comes from genuinely listening to people, not just ordering them around. You and I need to unpack this next move because it is a total tearjerker. Audrey hits him with a proposal to expand the foundation, naming it the Lucia Gallo Women's Care Fund. Yes, guys, she used his late mother's name to fund emergency birth services. When Silvio reads the title, he absolutely freezes. The whole room goes dead silent. You can literally feel the heavy trauma of his past crashing down. Audrey walks around the desk and tells him she does not want his mother's name to only be remembered for a tragedy. Bro, that hits right in the feels. Silvio grips the paper, totally overwhelmed, and says she should have warned him first. It just goes to show, you guys, sometimes the absolute most healing moments come from facing the exact things we spend years trying to run away from. Audrey tells him straight up that if she had warned him, he would have rejected it out of pure fear. She leans down, kisses his forehead, and tells him to let his mother's legacy actually bring life into the world. And Silvio, this ruthless boss, just totally melts. He grabs her hand, kisses her palm, and simply whispers, "All right." Fast forward to exactly 1 week before the wedding. Audrey is chilling on the terrace, staring at the ocean, thinking about picking flowers for a marriage that started as a crazy survival game but is now 100% authentic. Here is a solid life lesson for you. The absolute toughest people always have a soft spot, and real strength is knowing exactly when to let your guard down and let somebody inside your heart. Stick with me, guys, because the drama spikes again. Aldo walks up to the terrace, and for once he has no drink in hand. He looks serious and super dangerous. Audrey expects a sarcastic joke, but Aldo hits her with a heavy question instead. He asks if there was ever a timeline where she would have chosen him over Silvio. The tension is insane. Audrey does not sugarcoat it at all. She drops a devastating truth bomb, telling him that maybe she would have if he had actually wanted her more than he wanted to destroy his brother. Boom. Aldo respects the absolute roast, calling her honesty a very clean knife. What a brutal reality check. Remember this, guys. Never let yourself become collateral damage in someone else's bitter revenge plot. True love is always about building a future, not tearing somebody else down. The scene completely flips. Audrey is by the water, dropping straight facts right into Aldo's face. She admits Aldo saw her true colors first. He noticed her fear way before anyone else did. But here is the massive difference. Silvio actually let her change him, and she let him do the same to her. Aldo scoffs and calls that exhausting, but Audrey tells him it is totally worth it. Here is a major life lesson for you guys. True loyalty is not just about observing someone, it is about having the guts to grow with them. Aldo finally cracks, admitting he spent his whole life coming in second place. Audrey does not even try to offer him cheap comfort. She knows he would just make a sarcastic joke out of it, so she hits him with raw, unfiltered reality instead. Okay guys, picture this. Audrey stares Aldo down and tells him to stop treating every room like a race. His jaw clenches hard. For a split second, he looks like a guy who kept sprinting way after the finish line was crossed. Aldo brushes his pants and warns her, saying if she keeps talking like that, people might mistake her for someone merciful. Audrey just smirks and says nobody who actually knows her would ever make that mistake. Aldo gives her this totally unreadable look, nods once, and heads back to the house. And for the first time, Audrey watches him leave and feels like he is finally carrying his own heavy baggage instead of dumping it on her. It really goes to show that sometimes setting a firm boundary is the exact thing you need to do to earn a toxic person's respect. Audrey turns to the water, letting the ocean wind whip her hair. She tells Aldo straight up that he always saw right through her. He noticed when she was mad, scared, or faking it. But then she drops the real truth bomb. She says Silvio let her change him, and she's let him change her right back. Aldo lets out a heavy, bitter sigh and says that sounds completely exhausting. Audrey does not even hesitate before saying it is entirely worth it. Aldo looks away at the ocean and finally admits his deepest insecurity. He mutters that he has spent his entire life arriving in second place. Audrey's heart aches, but she does not reach out to baby him. She knows Aldo would just turn pity into a sarcastic joke. It is a hard truth, but sometimes letting someone sit with their own reality is the most honest way to deal with them. Now, we have got to rewind a bit, because the plot twist hits exactly 6 days before the big Mafia wedding. Audrey did not even plan to take the test that morning. The entire house was absolute chaos with dress fittings, foundation calls, and a guest list so messed up it was making even Michael lose his legendary cool. But Audrey woke up feeling this strange, heavy shift in her body. It was this crazy, undeniable gut feeling that made her sit frozen on the edge of her bed before grabbing the little box she had stashed away 2 days prior. She took the test right there in the middle of the madness. You and I both know how life works. The biggest, most life-altering moments never wait for a convenient time on your schedule. They drop right in the middle of the chaos and force you to pivot. So there she is, standing in her silk robe in the bathroom, staring down at the positive result while the whole mansion is buzzing around her. She is carrying the boss's child. She touches her stomach, feeling this wild mix of absolute terror and a love that almost hurts. Downstairs, Silvio is literally reviewing blueprints for a women's care clinic named after his late mother. Audrey spent weeks turning that tragedy into a promise, and now that promise is deeply personal. She marches straight into his office while he is going over security plans with Michael. One look at her face, and Silvio instantly kicks Michael out of the room. Audrey closes the door and drops the test right on his desk. When you are hit with massive news, you just have to put it on the table and face the future head on. For a second, the big boss is totally clueless. Then it clicks. The color drains from Silvio's face so fast it makes Audrey's chest physically ache. He freezes up, paralyzed by this deep childhood trauma. To him, every new beginning feels like a ticking time bomb waiting to destroy his life. Audrey walks over, takes his hand, and tells him straight up that this is not the tragedy he was born into. This story is going to start differently. Silvio's voice gets all rough, and he swears he can protect her. But Audrey looks right at him and says he needs to love them instead. Silvio admits that is going to be the hardest part. The fear in his eyes does not magically vanish, but it shifts to make room for hope. True strength is not about wiping out your fears completely. It is about moving forward, even when you are terrified. This is the moment that changes everything. The ruthless boss literally drops to his knees, burying his face against her hands. For the first time in his dark, violent life, Silvio looks at a fresh start and does not instantly see a grim reaper standing behind it. Audrey keeps her hands steady, grounding him. Fast forward to the morning of the wedding. Audrey is standing in front of the mirror, waiting for the panic to hit, but it never comes. The last time she put on a white dress, she was desperately plotting her escape route. This time, she is firmly planted. She asks Michael where Aldo is hiding and finds out he is down by the shore. She grabs her massive skirt and says she needs 5 minutes. Sometimes the biggest flex you can have in life is simply finding your peace after surviving absolute chaos and owning your choices. Audrey looks Michael in the eye and promises she is not running away this time. She heads down to the beach where the wind is howling. Aldo is standing there staring at the waves, looking like a total lone wolf. Without making a big deal out of it, he strips off his suit jacket and tosses it over her shoulders so she does not freeze before the vows. Audrey calls him out, asking if he actually cares about her. Aldo snaps back, telling her not to insult him on her wedding day. He drops a sarcastic joke about her history of vanishing in wedding gowns, but Audrey shuts it down. Instantly, she says she is out there to make sure he does not disappear on them. It proves that real loyalty is not just about showing up for the fun stuff. It is about checking on the people who always try to push you away when things get real. Audrey steps right into his space. She tells Aldo she needs to know right now if he is going to stand at the altar as a brother or an enemy. Aldo tries to play it tough, asking what happens if he chooses to be the enemy. Audrey does not blink. She tells him that Silvio will lose something irreplaceable. Aldo is honestly stunned. He asks if he really matters that much to the boss. Audrey tells him he matters way more than either of them will admit. Aldo cracks a broken smile and jokes that they both have terrible taste. He tells her to say he will show up, but Audrey fiercely tells him to do it himself. As she turns away, Aldo drops the tough guy act and thanks her for not treating him like the villain. Look, you and I can learn a lot here. People usually become what you expect them to be, so choose to see their true potential. Listen up, guys, because this scene is absolute cinema. Down at the beach, Audrey lays down the law to Aldo, locking in his loyalty. She heads back to the estate, and boom, who is waiting by the doors? The boss himself, Silvio Gallo. The Don is standing there rigid, clenching his fist like he is fighting off a panic attack. He spots the sand on her dress and jokes that she has a track record of vanishing in wedding gowns. But Audrey grabs his hand and drops the mic. She says she was not running away. She was out there, making sure his empire was whole, before walking down the aisle. Silvio is left totally speechless, just kissing her hand. You and I both know the real-life lesson here. The ultimate power flex is not destroying your enemies. It is keeping your family together when it counts. Inside the chattel, the aesthetic is insane. The hardened mafia guys are literally fighting back tears, and Aldo is sitting in the front row, totally sober. Then the doors open. Remember, the first time Audrey wore a wedding dress, she was running for her life straight into the mob's territory. But today, Silvio is not chasing her. The man who runs the entire underworld is just waiting. For a total control freak like the Don, that is the ultimate surrender. When she reaches the altar, he tells her their first marriage was just business, but today it is pure choice. Audrey fires back, saying she is finally picking the exact life she wants. It proves that true strength is having the courage to rewrite your own story, no matter how chaotic your past used to be. The priest makes it official, and Silvio kisses her like the world just logged off. That night, the reception turns into a literal mafia summit. The hall is packed with dark suits and old bosses trying to act tough. Michael brings out an ancient ledger declaring the Gallo Empire secure. One by one, lethal men step up to pay respect to the Don. But then, the ultimate wild card makes his move. Aldo steps and the room freezes. No drink in his hand, no sarcastic armor. He stops right in front of Silvio, and the tension is off the charts. He shoots one look at Audrey, acknowledging the reality check she gave him earlier. Stick with me on this one, because it proves a major life rule. Genuine respect is never forced with fear. It is earned through pure, tested loyalty. Aldo looks his brother dead in the eye, admitting he spent years confusing trauma with a birthright. He acknowledges Silvio as the boss, but refuses to be an outcast anymore. How does the Don react? Silvio steps down from his throne and tells Aldo to stand beside him. The character development is insane. Aldo touches the family ring and pledges his loyalty, ending their bitter rivalry. Later, Michael hands Silvio a secret report. Turns out, Max Gordon tried to leak a massive scandal to ruin the wedding, but Aldo secretly crushed the threat before it started. When Silvio asks about it, Aldo just shrugs and calls the guy boring. Never forget this crucial life lesson. Real power is not about being untouchable. It is about having a loyal crew that silently handles your worst problems. Audrey realizes Aldo chose their side way before making it official. But here comes the absolute best plot twist. Aldo's eyes drop to where Silvio's hand is resting on Audrey's stomach, and he freezes. You can see the exact second his brain connects the dots. He smirks, noting that the Don looks ready to murder the air around her. Silvio tenses up, full protective mode activated, but Audrey drops a wholesome bomb on him, telling Uncle Aldo to behave himself. Guys, the hitman completely short-circuits. Hearing himself called an uncle strips away all his mobster armor. He tries to play it off, joking that the kid is doomed, but you can tell he is deeply moved. It shows us that giving a damaged person a true sense of belonging can completely dismantle their thickest defensive walls. Silvio warns Aldo that if the kid starts quoting his garbage, there will be hell to pay. Aldo just grins, thrilled to finally have a purpose. Fast forward a few months to total victory. They open a hospital wing named after Silvio's late mother. Plus, instead of throwing cash at Arthur Palmer, Silvio quietly pulled strings so the proud man could keep his original diner. That is top-tier boss behavior right there. Standing outside, Audrey feels the baby kick. Silvio covers her hand, awestruck by a piece he never expected. Even Aldo is nearby, trying to look like a hardened criminal while secretly melting over his new family. The lesson here is simple. True victory isn't just about outlasting your rivals. It is about building a safe future where your loved ones can actually thrive. Silvio looks at the sign, telling Audrey she brought his mother's legacy into the light. She asks if the big bad mafia boss is still afraid. Guys, Silvio doesn't lie. He admits he is terrified daily, but is finally stopping himself from using control as a toxic coping mechanism. That is massive growth. Aldo breaks the tension, joking that if the kid inherits his charm, they are doomed. Silvio fires back that if the baby gets Aldo's judgment, he is changing the locks. Aldo sighs, looks at her stomach, and playfully calls the baby Dante. Audrey shuts him down, stating the boy's name is Leon. Silvio fakes being offended, joking that nobody consulted the Don. The core takeaway here: true emotional healing means putting down your armor and letting go of the obsessive need to control your loved ones. Silvio places his hand on Audrey's stomach, joking that he should be the controlling boss who names his son. Aldo clutches his chest in mock pain, crying that poor Dante was rejected before birth. Audrey laughs, melting away all the gritty mafia trauma we just witnessed. Think about how insane this storyline was. She literally crashed into Silvio's dangerous underworld barefoot, terrified, and wearing another dude's wedding dress. Now, she is wearing the Don's ring, carrying his heir, and has zero desire to run from the empire she helped rebuild. What an absolute flex. You and I both know a brilliant story when we see one. Thank you guys for sticking with this epic saga until the very end. Drop a comment down below and let me know which plot twist hit you the hardest. One of the strongest lessons from Audrey Palmer's S story is that breakpoint does not always mean the end of a person's life. Sometimes it becomes the beginning of a stronger one. Audrey runs from her own wedding because she finally understands that marrying Max Gordon would mean entering a life where she is controlled, reduced, and treated as manageable. For 2 years, she has softened herself to fit what he wanted. She has accepted criticism, swallowed discomfort, and tried to become easier to love. But when she hears Max speaking about her as if she were a useful object rather than a human being, something inside her wakes up. Her escape is chaotic, barefoot, humiliating, and frightening, but it is also an act of self-rescue. This teaches an important educational lesson. Leaving a harmful situation may not look graceful, but it can still be brave. Many people wait for a perfect moment to change their lives, but perfect moments rarely arrive. Sometimes freedom begins in panic, confusion, and uncertainty. Audrey does not know where she is going when she runs into the church. She only knows she cannot go back. That is enough. Her story reminds viewers that dignity often begins with one clear decision. I will not let this person define me anymore. Max believed Audrey was predictable and controllable, but he was wrong. She had strength he never bothered to see. Educationally, this lesson is powerful for anyone trapped in a relationship, job or family system, or identity that makes them smaller. Audrey's first victory is not marrying Silvio. It is refusing to marry Max. The lesson is clear. Sometimes the life you run from teaches you more about your courage than the life you run toward.